Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Heckma Harrison.
Back here for week one of Friday Night Stars. How about this catch? Thompson reels it in, goes all the way down the sideline for Union. And how about this DeSoto strip? That's a defensive lineman. He took the ball away from the tailback.
All Blacks looking sharp,
That's
boys.
a strip and score right there. How
Nothing
about this
like
one?
those Permian unis.
Lake Ridge bouncing off a tackler is going to the house.
Do it for Texas, baby. Do it for your state.
Lake Ridge up against Union.
Cedar Hill.
Cameron Hutchings over the top of the entire
What
Allen
a
Eagles
catch.
defense with
What
the
a
snag
catch.
over the
We got
shoulder.
football, baby.
Hey.
Football is back in Texas. Whataburger Friday Night Stars back in Texas.
We got some games.
We've got some games. We talked about these games all the way through the pregame show, heading into the matchups.
And we knew nothing.
We knew nothing.
Absolutely.
These scores
nothing.
are proving that, you know what, we can talk and we can prep, but who knows? That's why you play them, right?
Here's the thing. We knew nothing about predicting these games, but we knew that these games were going to be good, and we knew these games were going to be entertaining.
Yeah,
So
got
we got to
some
give
games.
ourselves a little bit of credit because that's exactly what's been happening. Kyle Yeomans alongside Heckma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, and Eric Chiafalo. Whataburger Friday Night Stars back for Season 2, 2019 of Texas High School
Beautiful.
football. Live from the Star in Frisco, Texas. The rain has subsided. It rained earlier in the day. It really hasn't had that much of an effect on all of these games throughout the course of the area in DFW. But man, we've seen some solid games so far, and some storylines. Highland Park early on, down in that football game against Rockwall, 31-14, I believe was the score at one point. Since then, the Scotties have fought their way back. We'll talk about that one coming
Chandler
up
Morris.
in a little bit. He's unreal. He's absolutely unreal. Cedar Hill hanging in there with Allen. You've got Denton Geyer.
That could be the story of the night.
I think it might be. It very well could be. But let's start going through some of these games, quickly starting off with Cedar Hill and Allen. Of course, this was a game that we previewed earlier extensively, the Tom Landry Classic out in Allen. And the Allen Eagles, like I said, up in this ball game, but Cedar Hill hanging in there, and the passing game has been a big reason for that. Also, not to mention they forced a couple of turnovers on that Allen Eagles squad so far, but the Horns showing exactly what we thought might be the case. They're the real deal.
Evenly matched game, right now, but Allen came out and put it on them. 21-point lead. They hadn't scored anything since, but Cedar Hill is making their way back in this game.
Yeah, and Raylan Sharp, as advertised, he had an 80-yard touchdown to start the game. He's got 7 carries, 91 yards, and a couple of scores. Also has a passing touchdown. He's 18 of 23, but he does have 2 interceptions, which has really helped Cedar Hill stay in the game.
Yeah, and that Allen defense, we had questions about it coming in. They lost so many guys on the defensive side of the ball, and they come out, I think they get 3 or 4 3-and-outs in a row to start that game, get that 21-point lead, and then like you said, Sharp with the turnovers, keeping Cedar Hill alive. But credit to that Allen defense, man, getting off to a fantastic start.
And under 4 minutes left in the third quarter of that one, Allen threatening again, first and goal on the Cedar Hill 9 with 3:47 left. But this is an Allen team that we talked about has a lot of growing issues. You talk about whenever you lose guys like Theo Weiss, like Grant Tisdale, and some of the guys that they lost on both the offensive and defensive lines, you're going to have a little bit of an adjustment period, and that might be what we saw in that first quarter, or maybe the second quarter.
Yeah,
because
they didn't lose.
Allen was able to come back and put some on Cedar Hill in that ball game.
Yeah, didn't lose average guys. These were absolute dogs that they lost.
Yeah, I see. Look, that tandem of Tisdale and Weiss was probably the best quarterback receiver duo.
The law firm
in
was
the
gone.
state last year, arguably. So, a difficult task for Mr. Sharp to come in. But the Green brothers there at receiver, they've each had a good night. One of them's got a touchdown. I believe it's Blaine. Blaine with the touchdown grab from Sharp. So, always, there's no lack of talent there for that Allen program.
Yeah, and coming in, you said Raylan Sharp was going to get it done with his leg. They're calling him Little Kyler down there in Allen, and he gets off to a great start. That first play of the game, 80-yard touchdown run.
Crazy, man.
Welcome to the Sharp era in Allen.
Well, They're off to a solid start. I believe they just found their way into the end zone too, 28-13.
Next year, guys, when we pick the first games, please just don't
let it happen.
I'm just going to say, Heckman, don't do it.
Just take my pick from me, all right? Take it. Don't
what
let
if
me
it's
do that.
Alan Duncanville?
Ooh.
Take it from me. Don't let me do it again. Okay.
So Allen, the entire. Hey, maybe you'll learn this year, right?
Maybe it's South Oak Cliff, Allen.
Maybe so.
Oh,
Thank you.
man.
You
Now
see how he does that?
Yeah,
you see that?
He keeps
He's gonna
reeling
get you
you back
riled
in. Keeps reeling you back in.
Lincoln and Allen? That'll never happen.
That's not going to happen. And I don't think he would pick Lincoln ever.
Yeah, so next game.
Denton Geyer and Alito before Heckma throws hands at one of us. Denton Geyer up on top in this ball game. Alito, we kind of hyped up the Bearcats a little bit in that pregame show, said, hey, they've won championships. It's Titletown, USA, and they're not going to lose again, which is it's absolutely true. But were we kind of sleeping a little bit on this Denton Geyer team, or is Alito going to come back in the second half of this ball game?
I was not sleeping on Denton Geyer.
Of course you're not.
This is a good Geyer team, but
You're never
But
wrong.
you didn't pick him, though.
no, I didn't pick him to win, but I did say it would be a close game. Look, Alito, both of these teams are very good. There's a reason they're each state championship contenders and ranked amongst the top 10 for each of their division classifications, right? So for Geyer, the question coming into this one was Eli Stowers and how did he grow this offseason and mature from his sophomore campaign? 40-0 was the score last year. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think people expected more from Denton Geyer in that one. But this one, yeah, I mean, for them to be up, and they were up 22-7 after the first quarter in this game, very, very impressive. But it does appear that the guys that we expected to get going for Alito, when you talk about Bishop, Earl, and McClellan, are starting to find their footing a little bit. 56 yards and 2 touchdowns for Jason McClellan, and then JoJo Earl, 5 catches for 65 yards. This one is going to be fun in this second half. It's going to go down to the end.
John Walsh is going to eat that cookie.
You think so?
He's going to eat that cookie. It's a 2-year-old cookie. He's going to eat it if they win this game.
So is that what it is? As soon as they beat Alito, the cookie's gone?
He's going to eat the cookie.
No more sugar cookie?
It's a gross cookie.
Eat the sugar cookie. Yeah, I don't know if I would
stale,
eat that
man.
one. It's probably pretty
That's
Oh, it's more than
years
stale
old.
at this point. It might be a little bit green.
Either way, like we said before, Eli Stowers, completely balling in this game. 4 touchdowns, 210 yards passing.
Efficient.
Whoa,
8 of
well,
10.
Efficient is the right word.
I feel like there was a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after last year's game because I mean that was quite possibly his worst game of the year.
Yep.
He went in and just did not impress on what was the biggest stage. Everybody knew it was Alito and Geyer, and this is a game that you expect guys to step up in, and he just didn't do that. And I think he brought that into this year, and he kind of kept that in the back of his mind.
And we talked about the big 3 for Geyer, and right now, I thought the big 3 for Alito was more talented, but Geyer's holding their own.
And
Cobbs
Seth
has had a
mattered.
good game. Seth mattered with 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, $129 through the air. He's been really, really good. This is a great Geyer team.
But also, the Geyer defense holding McClellan to only, 56 yards rushing?
Yeah, less than 4 yards a carry is pretty good.
He usually has about 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
56 yards.
Yeah, 56-yard touchdown opening drive.
And also, not to mention, you mentioned the big 3, and you talked about the big 3 for Geyer and the big 3 for Alito. If those two, even if Geyer's not necessarily head and shoulders above the talent-wise of the big 3 from Alito, then it goes into depth. And I think right now, Geyer is showing that the depth is there. A 6A program compared to the 5A program, maybe that has to play in a little bit to it. But at the same time, Alito, you can't necessarily count them out. It's a one-possession game going into the second half. But at the same time, you're showing that, hey, this is a Geyer team that is a legitimate contender at the 6A level, and it should be fun to watch. Looking at Jesuit and Arlington, of course, 2 6A matchups in this one. And, of course, Arlington, we talked about the lack of Jahari Rogers at the quarterback position, playing cornerback instead for the Colts. And as of the moment, 24-21, Arlington on top of Jesuit. Jesuit with 324 yards already in this football game from UTA. And most of it's been on the ground, but the biggest notable stat up there for me, you look at the 3 turnovers on Arlington's side, and they're still up by 3 points.
Yeah, it shows they're clearly the better team. And no Jahari Rogers for Arlington at the quarterback position. We were all wondering, how is that going to go? Well,
it happened.
Yeah, you got your boy Chris Sims, the junior. He's the former slot receiver turned quarterback. He's looked pretty good. He can get it done on the ground, 60 yards on the ground thus far, 116 yards through the air. Hasn't been overly efficient, but big plays, big touchdowns. He's got 2 of those through the air, and that's kept kept Arlington feeling good. But the 3 turnovers is certainly not the way you want to go. But when you can go 3 turnovers, still have a field goal lead, you feel pretty nice.
Now, Jahari Rogers hadn't shown up on the stat sheet, but again, you're doing this versus Jesuit, and they're only down by 3 points. How long are you going to be able to get away with that? I mean, 3 turnovers, if pretty much Jesuit would be in this game if they didn't turn the ball over.
And
I don't know that that's a knock on Chris Sims, though, right? I mean, Sims has been pretty good.
7 for 17, 116
9 carries,
yards.
60 yards on the ground, too. I mean, it seems like he's been efficient. Now, I don't think there's an E.J. Smith playing.
That is weird.
For Jesuit, for whatever reason. We're trying to get some intel on that. But, yeah, it is interesting, and it will be something to monitor as we go through the season.
Let's just mark it down, okay?
Your best player is Jahari Rogers. There's no doubt
Period.
about that. I get the fact that he's going to play corner at Florida, and it probably behooves the Gators, and it probably behooves Jahari Rogers to go ahead and start playing cornerback and avoid serious injury at quarterback. But you only get to play high school football once.
Yeah.
And if you got a chance to go ahead and win a state championship, don't you owe it to yourself and to your teammates to go out there and say, all right, I'm QB1, let's do this, and let's ride.
Yeah, what's the over-under, boys, before Coach Peach comes in there and says, hey, Jahari.
2 games.
2
I would
games?
say 2.
You go 2 games? I was going to say 4.
2.
1 game of district, take that L, and it's like, all right,
Yep,
back to the
you're
drawing
back.
board here.
I'd
get
give it
back in
2
the backfield.
district games, personally.
Well, and you mentioned it. I mean, Chris Sims, this is his first legitimate start for the Arlington side. I mean, in 7 for 17, that's not necessarily the percentage you want from a starting quarterback, but he only has thrown the 1 pick. He's thrown 2 touchdown passes, and like you said, he's run the ball pretty well, 9 for 60. And on the other side, I'm kind of interested in the lack of E.J. Smith. Like you said, we're trying to figure out exactly where E.J. is at the moment, but Rance Holman, I mean, he's got 9 carries for 116 yards. And then on the other side, Jake Taylor really taking the brunt of the carries, 19 for 99.
Yeah.
And he has a touchdown. Now, 19 for 99 isn't necessarily a jumping out stat.
He's averaging 5 yards a carry.
Exactly. But at the same time, 20 carries in the first half of a football game means that you're getting a lot of the workload and you're churning up the legs up the middle the majority of the time.
5 yards a carry gets you into the Hall of Fame. That's for sure.
Yeah, and with no E.J. Smith, with Jesuit still hanging into the game, you talk about Arlington, they have 3 turnovers, they're still winning, but only down by 3 if you're Jesuit and you don't have your best player for whatever reason. You got to feel pretty good about that. And you said it, Holman, the coaching staff liked what he did towards the end of last year. He really stepped up for them, and so he's getting off to a pretty nice start right now.
Well, let's go and move on to another 5A matchup. I do like that, though. The coaching staff very high on what he's been able to do. Now, Denton Ryan. We kind of put a chip on Denton Ryan's shoulder today. Talked about the Superman and the Kryptonite. Well, Superman's out and the cape is flowing. 52-6 in that ball game. They just started the fourth quarter. 20 first downs, even with a turnover. And that defense has just been startling so far for the Ryan Raiders. Is this a wake-up call? Because we thought this was a Mesquite Poteet team that could have challenged or at least won the football game, but at least could have been in it. That's not the case. Denton Ryan's flexing their muscles a little bit.
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm pretty shocked at that score. You know, and I know how good Ryan is, and their first touchdown of the year, guess what it was?
Drew Sanders?
It was a Drew Sanders 25-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown, and all of their – I mean, everybody that you can think of has gotten into the act here. Billy Bowman Jr. had a 61-yard punt return for a touchdown. Drew Sanders had a 35-yard reception for a touchdown. He also had a 7-yard reception for a touchdown. Jatavian Sanders, who plays both ways, end-to-end receiver, has a 23-yard reception for a touchdown. So, I mean, all the studs are joining the party here for Ryan, but I expected a lot more from Mesquite Poteet. I think this is... And we talked about this with Denton Ryan. They're the regular season warriors. They've not lost in 40 straight regular season games, and it really comes down to can they get over the Highland Park hurdle in the state semifinal. But this is, without a doubt, a statement kind of victory because they are putting a whooping on one of the other pretty darn good teams in 5A football in Mesquite Poteet.
Yeah, and it's pretty encouraging to see Hennigan out there really throwing the football. Last year, they struggled pushing the ball down the field. They had to get creative. They'd bring Drew Sanders in there to run some wildcat, do some fun stuff just because they couldn't generate offense from the pocket with any of their quarterbacks. And now Seth Hennigan out here, 285 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's a great way to get started for a Ryan offense that was, sort of constipated at times last year.
Yeah, well, constipated. So Denton Ryan for me.
Did you like that?
I did.
He did like
yeah.
that.
So
Moving on.
Denton Ryan.
Relate or what?
I couldn't believe you just said that. So Denton Ryan is, they are obviously, like you said, getting off to a great start on defense. They're going to pitch a lot of shutouts. I didn't think that Poteet was going to score.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed they've given up 6 points.
What?
You know?
But if we're looking for someone like if we're talking about replacing defenses from last year when we talk about Duncanville and the performance that they put on, with the names that they have on defense and Denton Ryan, they could be that kind of defense. Drew Sanders is Mr. Everything. This guy is everywhere on the football field. You talk about the first score for them for the season, a 26-yard fumble recovery. Man, look, it's going to be hard for people to even stay in games with Denton Ryan, especially with them being able to get this kind of production from Seth Henneken, because I won't use the word constipated, but things were moving a little.
You can use it.
They were moving a little slow.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. Now, Nick Saban is smiling from ear to ear right now.
Oh, he's got to be.
His future
I wonder,
linebacker,
he needs
Drew
somebody
Sanders.
to come and
He's
play for
tearing it
Dylan
up.
Moses. Maybe he just pulls Drew Sanders up now.
Yeah.
A year early, I think he could handle it.
Hey, you want to come play Duke tomorrow?
I think this
Why
is
not,
also
Coach?
not to mention. I think this is a Ryan team that has a chip on their shoulder as well. We talk about it. That's it's almost like they're the butt of the joke throughout the course of the playoffs in high school football. Hey, they're just going to lose to Highland Park again. I think they have HP in their sight line, but they're going to run through everybody to get there in order to stay healthy and then get past that hump. We'll see if they're able to do so. Going back to 6A, though, Odessa Permian traveling here to take on DeSoto. Now, this is a DeSoto team that, like we said earlier, returning a couple of guys, but still a lot of work to do. Well, they're putting work on Odessa Permian at the moment. 325 total yards, 28-7 lead, despite, once again, Eric, we talked about it earlier with Arlington, 3 turnovers, and they're still winning the ball game by 3 scores.
Yeah, that's pretty big time right there. And it looks like Permian's offense just can't really get much going. And that DeSoto defense, we know the athleticism they bring to the table, the speed they bring, and that environment. It was electric out there with the new Jordan uniforms, the all-black unis, Coach Mathis back in town. It was a party out there in DeSoto, and they are dominant. And Odessa, they had to come a long way. So, maybe a little bit bus lagged, if you will, because those legs are probably not feeling great right now. They're getting dominated, and that's a young DeSoto team, especially offensively, to say, wow, you went up there 35 points against Permian. That's a great way to start the season. 3 turnovers, got to clean that up. But like you said, 3 turnovers, still dominating the game. You got to feel good.
Yeah, Samari Collier, Coach Mathis was definitely high on him through spring ball and said that everyone would know who he is. You got to know that they're not going to be happy about the 3 turnovers, but just a young team like DeSoto is, they're taking it to him. 0 passing yards in this game. Obviously, Permian is a run first, run always offense. But God, they've had to attempt
they're really not
one.
a passing team.
They've thrown the ball once.
They literally, they have. Well, both teams though have not really thrown the football. I think that's what stands out for me with DeSoto is they have at least 6 or 7 different guys that have carried the football for them, and they've got 3 that have 40 or more yards rushing. So they're spreading the wealth. They've got a lot of guys that are touching the rock, that are running the football, but this has not been a game that has had much passing at all. Combined, we have 8 pass attempts in this game. So this has been a run-heavy dose.
And
between Permian and DeSoto.
6 of them were for Permian. They tried.
Harper Terry.
They tried.
Yeah,
Okay,
shout out
come
to
on.
Malachi Medlock, who had 13 carries and 131 yards for the Permian Panthers.
And you guys talked about Collier and what he's able to do. Well, the fact that he's playing quarterback and he's had a brunt of the carries as well, he also will not only run around you or run through you, he'll also run right over you. We've got a highlight from this game. Take a look at this play. He comes to the near sideline. He gets around the corner. Watch this guy. Over the top.
Oh, yeah.
Just to gain a couple of extra yards, and then he comes up with a flex with both arms.
That is awesome.
On the sideline. That's just a little taste of high school football and its purity. Is the fact that, hey, I might have only gained 2 more yards by jumping over you, but I still jumped over you. It was fun.
I think we had some question marks on this DeSoto team coming in, and they answered it. They've got a ton of athletes. They got a lot of different guys they feel good about. They can make explosive plays and be difference makers for their offense, and they're showcasing it against a team in Permian that I still think will have a very good season.
You mentioned teams that we have a question mark on, or a couple question marks about. How about the South Grand Prairie Ball Club taking on South Lake Carroll? And this is a ball club in South Grand Prairie that was up and down last year, had plenty of peaks and valleys. South Lake Carroll pretty solid throughout, and they're continuing to stay solid in this ball game. No turnovers for either squad, kind of standing out week one. If you're even going to lose a football game, at least that's a plus week one, that you're not turning the football over. But South Lake Carroll just kind of flexing their muscles in this ball game and showing that they're the better team really top to bottom.
Yeah, South Grand Prairie offensively just not really getting it done. And South Lake, they come in with their highly touted pro-style sophomore quarterback, Mr. Quinn Ewers, and he's had a solid game, nothing crazy. But the thing about South Lake is they got a lot of guys. They've had 5, 6, 7 guys already catch the ball. Blake Smith at tight ends already got a touchdown there, all district 6'5" monster tight end. And we haven't even seen R.J. Mickens really pop up offensively on the stat sheet for them. He's kind of their guy that when it's a big game, a game they really need somebody offensively, they'll bring him in there. But without R.J. Mickens tonight, they've still found a way, and they've had to replace some talent. I mean, a lot of their production offensively graduated last year, and so they get a guy like Cannon Cady, 18 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown, and then Quinn Ewers, the sophomore quarterback I mentioned, he can get it done on the ground as well. He's got 70 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So
43-yard touchdown run for him in the third quarter, and that's big because Will Bowers last year was an awesome dual threat quarterback for them, so they need that production from their quarterback.
Yeah, their hope is that Ewers is more of a passer down the field, probably a better passer of the football, but he can still run it. Bowers probably a little bit better, but if Ewers can throw it better and still bring some of that running game, that's exactly what South Lake wants, and they got this guy for another 3 seasons, man.
Yeah, so much for a slow start for the Dragons, right?
Yeah, not at all.
What a difference a year makes, huh?
I know, man.
One thing I do want to point out for South Grand Prairie, Drake Logan, their quarterback, 13 for 20, 145 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. So a pretty solid, above-average game. He's also running the ball well. He's run it 10 times for 34 yards, which is just over 3 yards per carry for those mathematicians out there. But I think you look at Drake Logan as a guy that South Grand Prairie can rely on, and even against a stout defense like what South Lake Carroll brings to the table, he's been able to perform so far, and that's definitely a positive, even in a game like this where things aren't really going your way. As for something we talked about, that battle of the border a little bit earlier in the first show, and talking about the Mansfield ISD schools. One game that we had highlighted, Lake Ridge versus Tulsa Union, 2 very stout programs, and we've got a lot of footage from this ball game because a lot has happened in this ball game, a high-scoring affair between these two sides, and overall, Lake Ridge actually leading this football game at the moment and putting up some pretty solid points up against this Union ball club that kind of took down the Oklahoma schools, rather, took down the Mansfield ISD schools last year.
Got some good action going here. Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, you never want those guys.
Lake Ridge unis, too, the All Blacks.
Yeah, they do look
also
good.
Repping the All Blacks.
We just need Mansfield to step up. At least one of our schools need to get a victory because they Legacy was Legacy last night, right? They couldn't make it happen, and then against Jinx, we can't have Oklahoma come down here and on our turf and come away with 3 victories. Last year was not great. This year, hopefully, these Lake Ridge fellas can get it done.
And you think of Lake Ridge, you think last year, of course, another deep run into the playoffs, a 9-3 record. They got to the regional semis and then fell in a late ball game there. But at the same time, the fact that they're able to come out and take an early lead against a Union squad that's as formidable as this team is out of Oklahoma, then I think there's a legitimate shot that this Lake Ridge team can compete in a very tough District 7 6A. Am I right in saying that?
No,
I mean, they've
not at all.
got pieces everywhere.
Yeah, and look, they were co-district champs last year with Cedar Hill, and this game has been bananas. I mean, 37-37, 8.5 left to go in the fourth quarter. Adrian Hawkins, who stepped in at quarterback, had a really nice game for Lake Ridge, 14 of 29, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they've run the ball effectively. They've got 3 guys that have 7 or more carries. Miles Featherton,
Nice.
7 carries, 92 yards, and a score.
name.
I love the Feathertons.
But the question mark that we had for Tulsa Union coming in, they were debuting a new quarterback too, J.D. Geneva. He's been really good. 16 of 19, 245 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's also got 39 yards on the ground. Tulsa Union seems like they're going to be in good hands moving forward with J.D. Geneva, but they have run the football very well with 20 carries, 167 yards, and a touchdown from A.J. Green. I don't know if that's in any relation to the wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Get well soon, A.J.
Currently has a foot injury.
Yeah, probably not 1,000 yards of offense in this one. So
Yeah, this game's been
bananas.
bonkers. I mean, back and forth between both these schools. Game is hanging in the balance. Come on, Lake Ridge, do it for your state.
Do it for the state. I mean, Lake Ridge had a lead going into that fourth quarter, but you got to credit Union. Over 500 yards of total offense so far, and kind of a game that we expected to go that way. And we've got a final. How about a Friday final?
First Friday final?
First Friday final of 2019. Well, there's been other games that have gone final, but this is the first one we're going to talk about. How about Duncanville? Against Lancaster. This turned out to be quite the football game. Lancaster early on in this ball game actually taking it to a Duncanville squad, at least in the early parts of the ball game. But Duncanville and Lancaster now gone final. However, the Duffelbag boys got it done in the second half, especially in that third quarter, put up 21 unanswered and actually take this ball game 21-3 after they were shut out for the majority of the first half.
Chris Thompson there.
right.
The majority of the first half, Duncanville did not score in the black uniforms in front of a packed house on the road. I mean, Lancaster held their own, but Duncanville ended up just being too much.
Yeah, Jaquindon Jackson. Some of the questions that we had about him at the beginning of the show.
We had questions about him?
We had questions. Well, the question
What were the
was
questions we had about Jaquindon Jackson?
The questions that we had was, could he throw the ball? And he definitely proved that over the spring that he's worked on his game, because he threw for a couple of touchdowns in this game as well.
Yeah, big plays too. 57 yards on one of them. That's what you want to see. Zariah Beeson getting involved. We know he's going to be one of their big playmakers, especially when it comes to the outside this year. But yeah, an 88-yard touchdown pass, a 57-yard touchdown pass, and a 13-yard touchdown pass. Jaquindon Jackson getting it done through the air. And it wasn't a question of if he can do it. It's just, can he do it consistently?
Let's do it. Let's see you do it.
And I want to see him do it. And he did a lot on the ground last year. He didn't have to today. Tryson Smith did a nice job for the ground game for Duncanville today, but Jaquindon Jackson didn't have to.
But Tryson Smith is such a tough runner, and he didn't get and he was really overshadowed by what Jaquindon did on the ground last year. But hopefully this year, that's something that changes, where he can rely on his running back, because 221 yards passing is pretty decent.
Absolutely. 90 yards on the ground for Tryson Smith. And they did an excellent job of keeping Trey Bradford in check. Only 10 carries, 33 yards for Trey Bradford. Probably the best offensive weapon on the ground for Lancaster. So, hey, the Duffelbag boys, that defense, they did it again. They kept the team out of the end zone, just 3 points allowed.
Yeah, not a surprise to see Duncanville putting up single digits and barely a crooked number on the scoreboard with the Lancaster team on the other side. However, I do want to credit Lancaster's defense. I mean, this is a Duncanville team that last year ran through opponents in the regular season, and I'm talking 50, 60. I think once they scored 70 last year in a regular season game, held them to 21 points, and like I said, took them a little bit to get going. But like you said, whenever they actually got going, the efficiency was still there.
They looked cold at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, a little bit stiff. No doubt about it. And we talked about it. There could have been a little bit of a hangover there from the last part of course, 2018. And the way that they lost that state championship game, it's tough to get back to that moment.
And it's a big win. You know, obviously a win's a win, but I think this one was a really big one because you're playing against a team in Lancaster that they only had one district loss last year. They should be another good team within their district this year. But when you lose a game like Duncanville did in that state championship on a Hail Mary, I mean, you go down the field, you score with a minute or so left, you think we're about to be state champions, you have it ripped away from you. I don't care how talented your team is. I don't care who your head coach is, and you're trying to drill the message home to your kids. It's tough to move on from that. Now the new season's officially begun. We came out, we got the first one out of the way, we got to win. Let's get back to where we were last year and finish the job this time.
Well, another team that did finish the job, the Highland Park Scots. We're going to talk about that Highland Park game and actually give you some live look-ins to Highland Park as they take on Rockwall. That game's tied up at 31.
Okay.
Just now getting started going into the third quarter. But right now here on Friday Night Stars, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about that Highland Park game. We'll also go into South Oak Cliff. Talk about some of the Golden Bears in a little bit of a ball game with
Death row
Skyline.
defense.
Lone Star with a big win. We'll talk about their win over Richland here in a moment, and then we'll go through some of our alma maters and catch you back up on some of the other big games around the area.
We can skip the alma maters.
You don't want to go.
Yeah, let's roll. Let's roll.
I think Justin's the only one that's actually doing
Let's
anything
roll.
right now.
Yeah, they're
be
only
back.
down by 2 scores.
We'll be back in a moment on Friday Night Stars.
Fans getting excited.
Wait, Justin,
Going into the
Northwest is
second half.
No, we can go through
I'm
them.
excited about
We're all
football
losing, I think.
into The
Yeah, I
family
think we're all
tradition, like you mentioned in the first half, you have big names like Anderson, Backett, Morris. You have all of these families that just keep coming out and have had siblings, grandparents, cousins at Highland Park, coach at Highland Park. You just see the impact that they have on this fan base back here, and you see these fans just really hyping up the team.
Great stuff there from Emily, and nobody knows that better than the man to my left here in David Clark, who's been his family's been a big part of this Highland Park family. As Rockwell is
Gear up for back to sport at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Ashley Home Store, the #1 furniture and mattress store in America. We have all the major mattress brands at a guaranteed low price. Plus, we have furniture for every room in the house and decorator accessories to make it yours. With multiple locations, personalized service from knowledgeable associates, and convenient finance plans to fit your budget. Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. This is home.
I mean, if you haven't thought about switching to Geico, frankly, you're missing out. The mobile app makes it easy to manage your policy, even way out here.
Your marshmallows.
Get digital ID cards, emergency roadside service, even follow. Whoa. Oops. That cheeky little thing got away from me. My bad.
Geico. It's easy to manage your policy whenever, wherever.
Can I trouble you for another marshmallow?
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're going to love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
The beautiful Star in Frisco, Texas, as we get set for Week 1. Continuing on Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Kyle Yeoman, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo.
Sup?
And the great Heckma Harrison. Glad you're with us. He is great.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Pretty awesome.
Hall of Famer.
Lots of great games around the area. Do want to make one correction. Duncanville not final just yet, but they did just kick another field goal, and they've upped their lead. 24
So you
to
lied
3
to
is
us?
the score. That's on me.
I thought it was our first Friday
That's
final.
on me. It's okay.
We had our
it's
whole
okay.
little party. We had the whole
did.
thing. There was excitement.
Hey, it's okay, though. It's fine.
We'll
It's
do
no
it
big
again.
deal.
We'll do it again.
How about this, though? I'm going to raise you a Highland Park
I'll raise you a
Rockwall update.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why is because Highland Park just took the lead.
You're kidding.
Wow.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Stop it.
Are you
Let's
telling
go
me if
ahead and look
Rockwall
in.
took the lead, you wouldn't want to do this?
No. Let's just go ahead and look at it. There's Chandler Morris. Of course, committed to Arkansas, quarterback of the all-powerful Scotties. How about this? Little QB draw, taking it himself, right up the chute, and he's gone. He goes all the way to the house from more than 40 yards out. Chandler Morris continuing to impress, as he has for his year and now a game.
And he backed into. Did he back into the end zone?
Well, I think he was already in.
Okay.
Turned around.
Chandler Morris, man, getting it done on the ground and through the air. Over 300 yards passing, over 100 yards on the ground, 5 total touchdowns. Absolutely dominating this game. Highland Park got off to a pretty slow start, but they keep fighting back, just like in the state title game last year. They keep fighting. They're not giving up. Next thing you know, they take the lead right now. I do want to say, this Braden Locke, The guy filling in, taking over for one Jacob Clark, who was a stud quarterback, big shoes to fill. Locke steps in as a young guy. Really, really big game. 21 for 34. Almost 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. That's a big game, especially for your first start against a heck of a Scotty team.
Well, and we've heard a lot of good things about what Locke brings to the table.
Yeah.
And he's still a young guy. I believe he's
sophomore.
a sophomore.
Yep.
And so he's got a lot of room to grow at the same time. And then you look at on the other side of the field on your first varsity start, and like you said, it's the mighty Scots of Highland Park, fresh off of 3 straight titles, and you've got a whole crowd on hand, packed on both sides of Yellow Jacket Stadium and Wilkinson Stadium, or Sanders Stadium, in Rockwall. But overall, it's kind of exactly what we thought in terms of this Highland Park team. We thought they were going to struggle a little bit in the secondary. The passing yards definitely show that for Rockwall.
Guys running wide open. Rockwall players running wide open. I'm not really sure what kind of defense they're trying to run. They run that 34 with those outside linebackers having to do a lot in coverage, and they're getting work tonight a little bit.
No, come on, guys. Let's not sugarcoat this. Nobody saw Highland Park being down 21-7 in the first quarter.
No.
Come on now.
No, but nobody makes adjustments quite like the Highland Park
So that's
coaching
what I'm
staff
saying.
either,
That's
and
enough.
they've clearly adjusted.
Yeah, they have clearly adjusted, but at the same time, this was a game that it didn't even look close.
No, Jackson Smith has done what we expected from him. 8 catches, 105 yards, and a score. And it seemed early on that Rockwall was all over Highland Park, and their defense wasn't going to slow them down at all. I mean, you look at it, yes, they've got 31 points, but that all came in the first half. So far in the second half, you had that break. Coach Allen and that defensive staff able to come together. We'll see how Rockwall does in the second half of action offensively, because that's where really, if you want to beat Highland Park, you've got to also find a way to outmaneuver their coaching adjustments. On paper, you can have more talent, but that's what's made Highland Park so impressive during this 3-year run, is they will outcoach you, and if you can't find a way to answer that call, they'll find a way to beat you.
And that's exactly what they're doing right now. 24 unanswered points. They were down 31-14 in the middle of the second quarter. And since then, Chandler Morris, 49-yard run. Yeah. Winters with a 34-yard field goal. Then Case Savage. How about a name?
It's incredible.
Case Savage with a 27-yard reception from Chandler Morris. And then the Morris run that we just saw a moment ago from 40 yards out. But 24 unanswered. It's kind of what we expected from the Scots. But now this is kind of gut check time for a really good Rockwall team. This is a Rockwall team that we talked to Nick Harris about earlier, and he said, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if Highland Park wins, or if Highland Park loses this game, because Rockwall's that good. And I don't disagree. We saw that in the first half. But this is gut check time for a young sophomore quarterback, a team that's trying to figure out their identity in terms of where they're going to be in 6A, and that might be exactly what that identity is, taking advantage of the Highland Park secondary, and just like that, we're a PAT away from being tied up.
I'm telling you guys.
My goodness.
Jackson Jiba is the man.
Ohio State.
That he's running away from everybody. But when you say it's gut check time, they are answering the bell, and they have the athletes to answer with. But Chandler Morris, I got to go back to this. What an athlete this kid is. Who won't he pass the ball? I mean, look at the stat sheet. Everybody's
spreading
getting
the wealth. Ben
everybody's
Smith, 6 catches. Will Anderson, 4 catches. Hunter Heath has done a nice job, not only in the backfield, but he's got 3 catches, 2 scores receiving, and they love to throw the ball to their running backs in Highland Park. Paxton Anderson, 2 catches, 40 yards. Case Savage, as you mentioned, they're spreading the wealth there. This is a brilliant game in terms of quarterback play.
Yes.
Because you mentioned, and you kind of talked about it a little bit there, but the sophomore Braden Locke kind of growing up and maturing before our eyes in his first ever debut. The other side, you've got Chandler Morris, been there, done that, state champion, highly regarded prospect, going to Arkansas. Kid's got all the tools. I mean, we could be looking down the road here when you look at these two kids in terms of high school football lore. Braden Locke could be the next great one for Rockwall. We know Chandler Morris is up there, and he's going to be putting up bonkers numbers all year long.
Yeah.
This could be one of the best games all year that we're seeing play out.
Braden Locke, a sophomore, may not even know he's not supposed to be playing this lights out right now.
And he's spread the well, too. 7 people with at least 1 catch, and Jiba's got 9 for well over 100.
Well, you know what that shows? That shows maturity in a young quarterback. In a sophomore quarterback in his first game with the receiving corps, able to spread around the football and able to throw it well. But you talk about, Zach, you mentioned this, and you said this is quite possibly one of the best games that we'll see all year long being played out right now. It's been that way the last 2 years. This is the third straight year these two teams have met. Last 2 years, each of them have been decided by a touchdown. Rockwall almost came out and beat Highland Park week 1 last year after they did beat them week 1 in 2017. Highland Park, of course, going on to back-to-back state titles. Rockwall, a little bit of a bumpy road in 6A later on in the year. Not necessarily the same success, but in terms of quarterback play, you've had guys like John Stephen Jones, Jackson Clark. You've got, and now you've got Chandler Morris, and then on the other side, you've got Locke as well.
It also kind of shows you in a microscope why Highland Park, it's so critical for them if they want to have ultimate success, and we're talking championship success. They have to stay at 5A.
Yes.
They're a team that, when there's good 6A football team, but they usually get knocked down in the area round of the playoffs, they go 2 or 3 rounds deep. When they're at the 5A level, and they've kind of bounced up and down with their student fluctuation there, but at 5A, they're a state championship contender. At 6A, they're a good team like the Rockwalls of the world, but they're not elite. Very important for Highland Park to stay at 5A if they want to continue their dominance.
Good point. Tied up at 38 in the middle of the third quarter in that one. Still lots of game left to play. 7-12 left in the third, so definitely lots to be decided there. Let's talk about Skyline and South Oak Cliff.
Talk about it.
South Oak Cliff, how they doing over there, Heckma?
Doesn't look too good, man.
Really?
No, doesn't look too good.
What about
Skyline
the death row
team,
defense?
They must have took off tonight because 20 down 20. And look, let me backtrack a little bit here.
Okay.
All right. There are some teams that were expected to come out and put a whooping on some teams, and it did not work out this way. This is one of those games, 21-9. I think everyone's a little shocked about this one. Come on, Zach, tell me. You got that look in your eyes.
I don't have a look. I'm surprised. I really am. I thought South Oak Cliff would win this game. But Skyline, look out. Maybe Skyline's a little bit better than we anticipated.
Yeah. I mean, I anticipated it. I said it the entire pregame show.
You did say you thought Skyline would win.
Looking at my
you didn't
crystal
go
ball.
all the way, though.
I didn't say. You're right.
You kind of put your foot in and you took your back. That's a little cold. It's a little cold. I don't want to do it.
And then I backed out.
It was
You're
the
right.
least bold prediction we've had all show.
You're right about that. But I mean, whenever you got 7 guys returning on offense and 8 guys on defense of a team that last year went 6-1 in district, got to the by-district round, and then won 7 games all of last year, you're going to have a little bit of success. And I think this is a Skyline team that even maybe last year underachieved a little bit and was kind of overshadowed by the success of a team like South Oak Cliff in the area that kind of emerged out of nowhere. And I think this is maybe a Skyline team that could make some noise.
Yeah, well, Daryl Richardson for Skyline has come on, man. This 116 yards passing has made a bit of the difference. He's done it on the ground as well, 54 yards on the ground. Jalen Lester, 2 touchdowns. And him and Richardson, both of those guys are taking over on the ground and in the air. I'm just shocked, really.
Well, the difference really is Richardson's taking care of the football. Rodney Hudson for South Oak Cliff has 2 interceptions, and he's been inept at throwing the football, 3 for 13 in this one. So there you go. South Oak Cliff can't pass the ball to save their lives, and they're also turning the ball over. That's the difference in this one. I think they were two pretty evenly matched teams. I just thought South Oak Cliff's defense would make the difference. So far, Skyline's just executing, I think, is what it comes down to. You might want to give your buddy Coach Todd a phone call.
I will.
We need to find out what's going on. Have him call in after this one. He's going to be upset.
Sure.
Are these the guys you fed?
No,
that's
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
How's Lincoln doing?
All right, very good.
We'll talk about Lincoln here in a little bit. We'll go into that ball game.
No, Eric's a jerk.
We do actually have a Friday final, though.
Thinking of another
okay,
word.
but hold on. Is it actually a Friday final? Are we sure?
This one
Don't
up.
be
Don't
messing
worry.
with me right now.
Now
I can't
we
take
were
line to the
watching
people.
this game earlier, and that's how we know it's final. It was across the hallway here at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco.
Okay, I can verify. I fact-checked it. This one's final.
Frisco Lone Star.
Thank God.
And, yeah, I think Richland is happy that it has gone final because if you see right up there, Whataburger Friday Night Stars, one of the featured matchups here at the Ford Center. Oh, my. The defense is there.
Let's say
So is the offense,
549 totally hard.
How about the passing
It's
yards?
there, all right.
My
Holy
goodness.
smokes.
How many of those did Marvin Mims have?
Yeah, 10 catches, 237 yards,
Yikes.
2 touchdowns.
It's my
Marvin
boy.
Mims
He's insane.
kicking the season off
President
right.
of the Marvin Mims fan club right here. I got my shirts on the mail. In the mail, they're coming.
But how about the quarterback, Garrett Ronhell? 20 for 31. 401 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That
Yeah,
might
it's
be
tough.
the best stat line of the week.
That's pretty big time. Well,
Yeah.
Marvin Mims has a huge one as well, almost
Yeah.
250 yards receiving through the air, and Jake Bogdan over 100 yards on the ground on only 7 attempts. The dude almost averaged 16 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. I mean, they were just clicking on all cylinders.
The storyline here that won't show up is the Lone Star defense. Jalen Ford and company.
Picked
those
up right
guys,
where they left off.
Man, they started this thing right back up, and that's all they needed last year. They had so many opportunities to win games, and the offense couldn't get it done for them. But it looks like, man, getting off to a fast start this year, 55-3. We watched this game from the beginning. They scored 20 seconds into the game?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Pretty close. Yeah.
It was Marvin Mims, too.
He also had a 43-yard punt return in the game, so Mims,
All 3 phases, huh?
Former Stanford Cardinal. He's also a smart kid.
Well, I also want to kind of go into this a little bit as well and talk about the fact that Ron Hella, quarterback, a sophomore, stepping in, and he was a freshman on varsity last year, 6'1", had most of the playing time on his JV level, but at the same time, last year was definitely kind of in the wings waiting to take over for that ball club, and he steps in and he puts up the numbers like he does there. Of course, Mims helps out with that because of how good Mims is and what he's able to do as an athlete.
Because the guy that was supposed to start had growing surgery, did he not? The Nevada commit. So this kid played big tonight. I don't know if that may be. Can you
4
lose
touchdowns to 4 different receivers too?
But can you lose your job now to an injury?
Is this a Wally Pipp situation?
That's Tony Romo.
Wally Pipp.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's fair.
He
That's
said
Tony
Wally
Romo.
Pipp.
All right. Well, moving on from there. Lone Star with a big win, though, 55-3. Here comes the toughest part of the show.
What is it?
Oh, the alumnus.
Time to talk about.
Let's just take a break.
Yeah, let's talk about our
Chipotle.
Yeah, you go first.
No Chipotle. Yeah, I'll go first. Waco Midway against Trinity. Not working out for Waco, by the way. Also, I do want to mention, before we move on from Lone Star, actually, Lone Star Highland Park, 7:30, 2 weeks from now.
Ooh, I like that. That was a great game last year.
Wasn't
Wasn't that a 10-7 defensive just battle last year?
That game
but
last year was ugly.
It was in Highland Park, was it not?
No,
or was
it was
at
at
Lone Star?
Star.
Okay,
So this one will be at Highlander.
It'll be at Highlander. Very good.
Yikes, that's going to be a fun game overall. But talking about Midway and Trinity, and well, I'll get things started in our alma mater's losing because Midway is taking one on the chin right now, only by 6. It's a little bit better than I thought it was earlier. But Trinity putting up over or close to 300 yards of offense in that one, and most of it on the ground. Are we surprised? No, not really. Despite 3 turnovers, they still lead it by a touchdown.
Yeah, didn't you say Midway by 10? Was it Midway by 10?
It was Midway by 10.
It's a close game. They haven't run the ball very well, but Euless Trinity does have a big physical defensive line. They've thrown the ball effectively. Trinity has turned the ball over 3 times.
Still with a 6-point lead.
And leads by 6. So for Midway, hey, not out of it, but they gotta have some work to do. And that just goes to show you, people, we're hearing this conversation, this rhetoric across sports talk. Eric and I, we do work for 105.3 The Fan. And everyone wants to talk about how the run game, you don't need to run the football. It's all about pass, 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 pass. You have to establish the run in order to have success in football. This is the case. Midway cannot run. They have not been able to establish a run game. That is why they are losing.
Well, and when the opposing team's gashing you for 209 yards and the game's not even over, that means you can't stop the run or run the ball.
And Trinity is running the ball well. So there you go.
And what that also means is that the clock is running at the same time. So that's the people that say that about passing game. They don't know much about football, man. So that's the thing, and that's what I was trying to tell you, man.
Jeff Kavanaugh.
That's what I was trying to tell you before when it comes down to the Trinity that. They got a bunch of guys up front that they're just grueling their offensive line, and they're going to take it. They're going to take
4
it to
quarters
you.
of
Absolutely.
that.
And you have to deal with that. And so even still, now that's something to talk about. The 3 turnovers is you can't do that versus a really good team because obviously that'll be the difference in the ball game. But so they're lucky, literally, to be up by 6 points right now.
Well, it's not looking good for me. Let's see how things are looking for Mr. Wolchuk's alma mater.
Talk about it.
How is Plano doing up against a very good Hebron team? Let's keep that in mind. We'll give you a tough break.
This game was over before it started.
Let's not keep that in mind.
What's the score?
It was 46-0 at one point, and Plano was up. No, just kidding.
No,
they were down 46-0 at one point, it's a final 53-26. Plano tacked on a couple of touchdowns to make the score.
Garbage time TDs.
Look a little bit better. Isaiah Broadway, 8 carries, 99 yards, a touchdown. Carson Harris didn't have to do much with his arm. They just ran the ball. 10 carries, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground for him. Really good day all overall, rushing-wise for Hebron. Plano just couldn't stop him. Oliver Towns, their quarterback, 13 of 32, 2 interceptions. He did have 3 touchdowns. 2 of them came late. Cody Christ on the ground, 15 carries, 79 yards, and a touchdown for Plano. But like I said before this one started, it is time for a coaching change at Plano. It's been that way for years. I don't think it's going to happen because of the athletic director for Plano ISD, but really bad week all in all for PISD. You had Plano get completely blown out by Hebron, who is pretty good. East lost in overtime to LD Bell, and then Plano West, who's now lost 27 straight games after they lose to Frisco Reedy last night. Something's got to change in PISD.
Yeah, I mean, there's change that could be happening. You're an actual alumnus of the ISD though, so you have a little bit of a little bit more finger on the pulse. Though.
Plano Senior High School is a team that 7-time state champions.
Okay,
they have not won a playoff game since the fall of 2009. That was my senior year. Since I've graduated, they haven't won a single postseason game. That's just unacceptable for what was once a blue chip program in the state of Texas.
They need you, man. They miss you.
It's not me. Trust
me. Get back in the building, Walchuck. No.
Shout out to Jared Kirschmeyer. I had a great game against Duncanville in that by-district playoff. That's why we won.
Oh, the Kirschman.
I like that. How about this? I haven't used this yet so far in 2019.
Come on.
Remember the fan tag cam in 2018?
Are we still doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, I wear the T-shirt all the time.
Yes, we are.
It's a very
comfy T-shirt.
Yes.
How about this? I've got the fan tag cam up. This is Lake Ridge and Union. Less than 3 minutes left in the ball game here. Union on the 10-yard line, knocking on the door of Lake Ridge. Quarterback in the shotgun. He looks right, has a guy right over the middle, caught, walks his way in. Touchdown, tied up at 44 with that score. The PAT follows, and Lake Ridge and Union tied up at 44. But
what
now, how about this? I've got an extra update for you.
Ooh, I love a double bonus.
Updates.
Lake Ridge drives down the field, gets on the, I think it's the 12-yard line of Union, and kicks a field goal. They take a 47-44 lead with 4 seconds remaining.
We've got 2 instant classics cooking right now.
Absolutely.
Union and Lake Ridge and Rockwall and Highland Park. This is what week 1's all about.
Geyer and Alito.
Geyer and Alito's got to be coming down to the wire as well.
It's getting there. It's getting to that point. Let's go ahead and go through Justin Northwest and Little Elm. How are your Texans doing over there?
Not faring too well, gentlemen. Looks like they're going to fall 32-21.
That's a bit of an upset, I think.
It is. I mean, I knew the Little Elm defense was good, but I didn't know they were going to basically shut down Austin Ahmad, who had over 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns through the air last year. Hasn't been able to get much done today. You're looking at less than 50% passing and just over 100 yards through the air for Northwest. And the problem is Little Elm, not only are they playing really good defense, but they are running the football. They have 3 guys with at least 50 yards or more on the ground, and they're averaging almost 8 yards per carry as a team. And they're just dominating both lines of scrimmage. And then at the same time, the turnover battle is not being won by Northwest. So problem is we got ourselves a situation. Our Northwest Texans, whose offense was fantastic last year, they spread the wealth. They had a lot of playmakers, and Austin Ahmad looked like a really, really good junior quarterback. Well, that Little Elm defense is putting it to him.
Fun game overall, and I think that's a Little Elm team. Zach, you and I got to call a game of Little Elm last year in the Lobos, and I think that's kind of a team that's sleeping right now, kind of in the distance, and potentially could make a run inside District 5A and make a little bit of trouble. We have just got a final. Mansfield Lake Ridge holds on, takes down Tulsa Union.
About time.
47.
Do it for your state.
44 final score over.
He did it.
500 yards, almost 600 yards for both teams. This was a wild matchup. Over 25 first downs, only 1 turnover. This was unreal.
Geez, the amount of offense in that game. Holy smokes. And Tulsa now has to get on that bus and drive all the way back to Oklahoma, not feeling too great, even though they had a heck of a game. And, I mean, we're talking about 3 or 4 games today that come down to the wire. And this one, with the amount of offense in this game, what a fun game that would have been to go to.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter of this one, both teams just trading blows, and Keelan Johnson, who's one of the best wide receivers in the state for Lake Ridge, a 68-yard touchdown pass from Joshua Bowie, and Tober Allen, man. Tober Allen, who I told you, the next Caden freaking Davis, baby.
Tober!
With the game winner, a 36-yarder. He also hit a 40-yarder earlier in the fourth quarter. Really outstanding job all the way around. All the playmakers that we highlighted for Mansfield Lake Ridge as well. They came to play today. They joined the party. Adrian Hawkins did his job, and it was that trick play from Joshua Bowie coming in with that pass play to Keelan Johnson. What a night for him. 5 catches, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 42 yards a catch. Really nice night. And for Tulsa, you got to tip the cap. Yeah. I mean, this has got to be a favorite to win the state championship in Oklahoma. Really great night from the starter, J.D. Geneva, in his debut, 19 of 25. 5 touchdown passes for him. No picks, 76% completion percentage. Excellent job. And then A.J. Green, 23 carries, 171 yards on the ground. This one was fun. This was great for my high school fantasy football game tonight. Nice. I'm so glad that I picked up J.D. Geneva.
Yeah, it was
Keelan
huge.
Johnson.
That was huge.
I think I'm going to win, boys.
Yeah, you might win that one. You're not winning the pick'ems, though.
Hey, by the way, my kicker, my South Lake guy, Joe McFadden, he smacked a 40-yarder today.
All right, kickers, baby.
Right between the uprights.
Let's go. I got Tober Allen. You got whoever this guy is from South Lake.
Joe
Carroll.
McFadden.
Joe McFadden. In relation to Darren.
And we know they're not football players, but they are people. They deserve some love.
I don't know. Tober Allen running a 4.6. I think it's pretty impressive.
That's true. I want to see him tackle somebody, though.
Well, we'll have to go check him
1,100 yards of offense, man.
That's
bananas.
unreal.
Bananas.
Jeez.
So this was an instant classic. What was the other game that you were talking about was an instant classic?
Was it Rockwall Highland Park?
It is Rockwall Highland Park, and I've got an update. How about let's go back to the stream.
Oh, that sounds great. It sounds great.
Rockwall. Highland Park's leading by 6. Now they're not. 45-44 as Rockwall takes the lead on a run right up the gut. Once again, a very high-scoring affair as we see this one unfold in front of the stream here on the road. Highland Park defensively trying to hold on to the lead, just a handoff right back up the middle, breaking tackles and then slipping through the hole all the way to the end zone, and another Rockwall score. This time it wasn't the secondary that you could blame for Highland Park. Maybe poor tackling in the backside of things, but at the same time, this is a defensive line for Highland Park that needs to make a difference, and right now they're just not doing that.
And that's crazy because usually they have got a lot of depth along that defensive line, especially on their interior. They've been really spoiled with some good nose guards in recent years. Elliot Newsom comes to mind as a guy who was outstanding for them. But Zach Henry. But we've talked a lot about Braden Locke. We talked about Jackson Smith. How about Zach Henry toting the rock? 17 carries, $112, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging just a little over 6.5 yards a carry. He's also got 2 catches for 32 yards out of the backfield. Really nice night for Zach Henry.
Really nice night.
Just a classic game, man. A classic showdown between these two teams, and it's going to come down to which defense can get a stop at the end of the game when you're worn out, you're tired. The offenses right now are absolutely dominating on the ground and through the air, and you could just tell right there, trying to tackle that stud running back for Rockwall, it's just not going to happen if you're not one gang tackling and you're exhausted now here in the fourth quarter. That's what you forget. You don't really get into football shape until you're playing football. You work out all off season and you're in good shape and all that stuff, but being in game shape, that football shape, the only way to get in shape that way is to play football, and this is week 1, and so you're going to start getting exhausted in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, formidable opponents, man. You look at it, both of them evenly matched. It's definitely not one that Highland Park is going to run away with, and everybody expected for Rockwall to come in and play tough. So it's going to be a tight game, instant classic as we're calling it. But I wouldn't say that it's not so much that Highland Park's defense isn't in shape. I just think that Rockwall has just come out, and they've given them more than they can handle.
And uncharacteristically, as good as Chandler Morris has been tonight, he's got 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that makes a lot of mistakes, but Rockwall's found a way to force some turnovers.
And the young Locke on the flip side of things having a great game, and he's been clean, no turnovers whatsoever, and that's a little bit of a surprise when you look about. Chandler Morris is the senior, Locke's the sophomore.
Yes, and Kyle, you made that point though. Highland Park, if there was a weakness along this defense, it was the secondary. They graduated a lot of key starters on that back end, and they're getting a good taste here tonight.
Let me say this, and as far as guys getting tired, Chandler Morris should be tired. I mean, he's 112.
He's carrying the load.
He's carrying the load in every way. 112 yards rushing, 407 yards passing. So he is literally it right now for the Scots.
Well, I also want to mention, you talk about the weakness of Highland Park secondary right now. That's where they're thin. They're very thin in the secondary, and they're not very quick to the football. The opposite for Rockwall. I think that secondary for Rockwall might be the strength of their defense, and because of that, it provides a little bit of an extra challenge for a guy like Chandler Morris, who likes to throw the ball over the top of a defense. Usually, you're able to take advantage of that in the regular season.
All I'm saying for Rockwall is they better eat this clock up, because if they leave 20 seconds, it's over.
They might. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, 1 point, definitely no. That's not really that much of a lead against that Highland Park Ball Club. But we'll continue to monitor that one. We've got a couple games coming down to the wire. We're going to take a quick break. Going into the final hour of Week 1, Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Heckma, by the way, don't worry, we didn't forget about your alma mater. They're losing 21-10. Lincoln, the Tigers, falling.
You're not going to make him go through the pain of reading that stat line?
No, I just did it for him.
46-0. Kyle, come on.
Sorry, bud. We'll be back in a moment on Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Hi there, this is Dak Prescott. When it comes time to shop for my tailgate favorites, I go to my stores, Albertsons and Tom Thumb, where they offer fresh organics and large assortments of local produce and sell only USDA choice meats. Get 10% off of your groceries every Dallas Cowboy game day when you wear your Cowboy jerseys. Albertsons and Tom Thumb, the winning combination and the official supermarket and pharmacy of the Dallas Cowboys.
Gear up for back to sport at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
It's in all of us, and we won't hold it back. Not one little bit. Nope, we embrace it, letting it fuel our passions, pushing us deeper than we thought possible and keeping us curious. It's what sets us apart from the herd. It's how we come up with the ideas that make people say, why didn't I think of that? See, when you nurture the creativity and passion that's in all of us, you'll learn nothing is out of reach.
Ashley Home Store, the #1 furniture and mattress store in America. We have all the major mattress brands at a guaranteed low price. Plus, we have furniture for every room in the house and decorator accessories to make it yours. With multiple locations, personalized service from knowledgeable associates, and convenient finance plans to fit your budget. Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. This is home.
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're gonna love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
Inside the hallways at the Star in Frisco, Texas, we are Whataburger Friday Night Stars, week #1 of the 2019 Texas high school football season. Glad you're with us into the final hour. Here are the first episode of Season 2. Kyle Yeomans, Heckma Harrison, Zach Wolchuk, and the great Eric Chiafalo joining us, as always. Glad to be back with you guys. Chris Beam, by the way, Matt Kent, Chance Williams holding down the fort back in the studio as they continue to do magnificent work week in and week out for us, so that way we can talk football and stuff.
That's all we want to do. It's what we love.
That's it.
That's it.
That's why they
Lots
brought
of
me here.
games to talk about, though, throughout the area. And one game just went final, and it's one of our top highlighted games. It is a Friday final from Allen. Cedar Hill, the team chosen by the very Heckma Harrison to defeat the mighty Allen Eagles. Well, they have fallen.
Oh, what a non-surprise for the rest of us.
Nope.
3 turnovers for Allen. They still get it done. They bring in the
what a smart, you little sarcastic jerk. What a non-surprise for the rest of us. Look, Cedar Hill, I thought, played a pretty darn good game.
No, they did. They did. They forced 3 turnovers, and they only lost by, 13 points? That's a heck of a job right there,
Look,
Cedar Hill. You returned
just
7 starters on offense, Cedar Hill. You got an offensive lineman going to LSU, one of the best we've ever laid our eyes on. All right? You forced 3 turnovers. You
It's
can't
my
score
player of the
30
week
points.
next week, since we didn't get to do it this week because Fred Garner wouldn't let the stream work.
Cortland Ford.
Let's just call him out.
Your guy.
Hey, look, Cortland Ford's an outstanding left tackle. I think he's awesome. But I think tonight it really comes down to Raylan Sharp, right?
First play of the game, 80-yard touchdown
how
run,
would
dude.
you replace Grant Tisdale? And Raylan Sharp came
you
out
just
here
bring in
and
Kyler Murray.
23 of 30, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks, but there'll be some growing pains there. And he had 103 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Kelvin Manning really didn't have to do much. 8 carries, 35 yards, had a touchdown of his own. But Caden Salter taking over for Shane Lawrence at Cedar Hill. Big shoes to fill there, 24 of 47, had 3 touchdowns of his own and an interception. I think all in all, if you're Cedar Hill, I'm not one that believes in moral victories, but they've got to be feeling pretty good about their quarterback.
There's no moral victory here.
They've got to be feeling good about their quarterback, who put up 3 touchdowns on the road at Allen, a place where Allen does not lose, and they only ever play home games for whatever reason.
Charmin soft.
I don't get that. But Allen does what Allen does. 41-28.
That's analysis right there.
That's about what we expected. Their offense was really good.
Shut down the running game.
They played good defense, and we weren't sure about their defensive line a little bit.
They proved themselves.
We said it from the beginning. Like Allen just reloads. Raylan Sharp, I don't know where this kid came from. Glad you knew about him because I didn't know anything about him. 400 yards of offense.
He's committed to SMU, so he'll be a local kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is obviously the man, and God, I mean, if you look at it, it was an evenly matched game. And as far as yardage is concerned, penalties, first downs, all of that, Cedar Hill had an opportunity to win this game because of, and I'm just one of those guys when I start looking at the stats, the first thing I go to is who turned over the ball. And you would think that would make the difference. But, man, Allen is going to be a problem for everybody. If this is any indication, though, that defense isn't as stout as they were last year, then that should give everybody else hope. Maybe they'll only blow your school out by 50 points this year.
I do think Allen's going to be one of those teams, though, that grows as the year goes on. I mean, with a new quarterback, a lot of new faces on defense. Right now, you're just trying to win games. And we said that's a good Cedar Hill team. It wasn't a pushover game for them. So the fact that you can have 3 turnovers, still win by 13 points, a lot of new faces on both sides of the ball, young quarterback. I think week 4, week 5, week 6, we're going to start seeing the best of Allen, and particularly that defense.
Holding Cedar Hill to 81 yards rushing, I think, is mighty impressive.
That's very impressive.
That's a big takeaway for me.
Well, and this is a good Cedar Hill team overall that we expect big things out of the Longhorns this year. They've got a tough opponent on the other side next week. Do you know what that game is? Cedar Hill, Denton Guyer.
Oh, man.
Denton Guyer's in a little bit of a battle right now.
Poor Cedar Hill, man. They just come out of the gates and just get smacked with tough games.
Yeah. I mean, back to back.
Guyer's doing it too.
Guyer's doing it.
That's true. Fair enough. Guyer's doing it too.
52-49. Look at the offense.
Jeez.
Even and efficient. 609 yards. They're still driving at the moment in the fourth quarter, underneath 7 minutes to play, and Denton Guyer continuing to put up big numbers against a seemingly not even just impressive, but unbeatable Alito team a year ago. And I mean, they're proving themselves too. This is emerging Denton Guyer as a legitimate conversation as a team to watch heading into this year.
Guys, I mean, this is ping pong at its finest. You've got, this is how the third quarter goes. Jace McClellan, 9-yard touchdown. All right, Guyer, your turn. Seth Metter, 33-yard touchdown catch from Eli Stowers. All right, Alito, can you keep pace? Jace McClellan, 1-yard touchdown run. Yes, we can. All right, your serve, Guyer. What you got? Okay. Byron Phillips, 8-yard touchdown run. Let's move into the fourth quarter. Let's keep swapping scores. Jake Bishop, a 34-yard touchdown run. And then as we speak, Denton Guyer inside the goal line. They give it to Cadrick Cobbs, and they score again. These teams are just trading blows. Really, for Alito, it comes down to they just can't get that defensive stop right now. And credit has to go to that offensive Denton Guyer. What a difference a year makes. This time last year, Eli Stowers had those pregame jitters.
It's incredible.
Making his sophomore debut on varsity football, period. 3 interceptions. Alito blows out Guyer 40-0. Here tonight, They are making a statement to the rest of 6A.
Kedra Cobb is the guy. I mean, literally, you watched him last year. As the games progressed, he got down to the fourth quarter. You start seeing guys on defense MOPing, missing on purpose.
He is not the kind of guy you do not want to tackle.
You don't. You want to get down on the ground. You want to get out of his way. 19 carries, 192 yards,
and
man.
338 for Geyer on the ground. They're dominating.
We have a stat change right here. That was just 52.
Well, yeah, they scored again.
Cobb just scored.
Yeah, Cobb scored again, and they're just dominating the line of scrimmage. You can see it, and you see they give up 187 rushing yards to Alito, but Alito, that's the kind of team with McClellan, you expect them to have well over 200 rushing yards in a game, and the fact that you keep them under 200 and you're pushing 400, you're dominating the line of scrimmage, dominating the trenches, and you mentioned it, Walchuk, with Eli Stowers, his growth, and Seth Metter, that chemistry between the two of them, man, it's a crazy what a year makes and how much better both of those guys are.
Eli Stowers tonight, 12 of 14, 285 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's about as efficient a game as I've ever seen.
That's the difference right there.
Absolutely brilliant.
0.
Not to mention 117 yards on the ground for Eli Stowers.
You know who's shaking in their boots right now? Teams like South Lake Carroll, Keller, Fossil Ridge, Byron Nelson, VR Eaton, Keller Central, Timber Creek. I just named the entire District 5 6A.
Really, South Lake is the only.
South Lake is the team that is going to challenge.
And they narrowly beat Geyer last year at home. A game that Geyer rallied.
Trick play.
They had him on the ropes. It was the trick play. I think it was Blake Smith, the tight end.
Yeah,
threw a touchdown.
Doubles as the backup quarterback. Heck
Crazy play. And Geyer, 17 returning starters. We looked at them as a team to beat. I didn't think that they'd have enough to take on Alito tonight, but boy, they are proving us wrong, and they are doing it in an emphatic way. Tip of the cap, Mr. Walsh. You've got yourself a squad.
They've got a squad.
Shout out to the Sugar Cookie boys.
Hey, that Sugar Cookie might not be any longer by the end of the night.
Just trash it.
Yeah, they just don't eat it.
Just frame it.
Hey, you dip in a little milk, baby. You're good to go.
Is the milk 2 years old too?
No.
Some armadillo milk?
Okay, good.
Walchuk didn't mention anything about milk in his little story that he said earlier. The story that didn't make sense.
Reese Waddell, thank you so much for that insight in the Denton Record
Oh,
Chronicle.
man. Let's go to Jesuit and Arlington. This was a ball game early on as well. Last time we checked in between these two squads, Arlington was up 24-21. But looking at it again, 38-28. Final score, Arlington without Rogers at quarterback, able to come through, put up 293 yards passing regardless. Despite the 3 touchdowns, they come out with a 10-point win over Jesuit. This is a Jesuit team without E.J. Smith. And then, of course, we failed to mention this earlier, but their quarterback from last year, Kevin Schumann, transferring to Coppell.
Yeah, which is a nice get for Coppell there.
Absolutely. It's a huge get, but at the same time, it's a big loss for the Jesuit Rangers. But overall, the Arlington Colts doing exactly what we thought they did last year and starting off with a pretty solid win.
Yeah, and without Jahari Rogers at quarterback, that was the question coming in. Who's this Chris Sims guy who last year was playing slot wide receiver?
Well, guess what? Chris Sims is pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
Chris Sims can play.
There you go.
Who's Jahari Rogers? Chris Sims can get it done, baby.
Yeah, it's not like Jahari Rogers isn't one of the biggest playmakers in the entire state.
He's still playing football. It's not like the guy's sitting on the bench.
No, he's playing receiver.
He's playing corner.
Okay, so calm down. All
no,
right.
you calm down.
So let's talk about.
You want to just belittle Chris Sims, the slot receiver. You didn't know who Jahari Rogers was this time a year ago. Chris Sims, baby.
Yeah,
you're my Friday night star, Chris. Great game, Chris.
I had no idea we had the caping for Chris Sims over here.
He got it.
I'm just sick of hearing about Jahari Rogers.
The president of the Chris Sims
Arlington
Club.
can win, and they won by 10 tonight with Chris Sims at quarterback, and they'll get a lot more done.
Hey, I got a lot of love for Coach Peach. All right, we all do. He's a friend of the show.
Yeah.
And that's a great coaching job by him. You lose your stud quarterback, and
he's
who knows?
He's brilliant.
Yes,
he's still there.
Hey,
he's not playing quarterback.
Corner.
Yeah, so he lost his quarterback.
On the team.
So all the things
gained
he
a
thought,
corner, he lost a quarterback.
Positions.
So what did he do? He was sitting there over Christmas and going, you know what would work?
I can't wait to move my stud playmaking top player
They're
in the
gonna love
state.
me.
All of a sudden,
when I do
my
this.
defense just got way better because I put Jahari Rogers there. How about that?
Hey, let's go. If I could choose between a great corner and a great quarterback, I'd always go with the corner.
I think they've got a pretty good one there with
Makes
Chris
a lot
So
of
let's
sense.
go back to this. Okay,
A pretty good one.
Jesuit did have
Could be a great
25.
one.
Jesuit did have 25 first downs in this game, although they lost to Arlington's 15. Right?
Hey, your guy Rance Holman.
Hey,
had
if
a good
Chris
day.
Sims was so
What's
good, he
his
wouldn't have
name
been playing
again?
slot
Rance
wide receiver
Rance
last year.
Holman?
All right,
My
give me a
man
break.
Rance
Chris
did that.
Sims been playing slot wide receiver since the day he was born. Okay, if he was
now
good
he's
enough,
a quarterback. And he's pretty darn good.
He's not, but he's not Jahari Rogers. It doesn't matter if this was Jahari Rogers running the show.
Let's let him prove it.
It wouldn't be 38-28. It'd be 58-28.
They won the game.
I know, and I'm giving hats off to him.
By 10. But look, if they play anybody else and they play the way they did tonight in their district, they lose that game. Then they say, hey, Jahari, you're up. That's what's going to happen.
It might happen.
Maybe it might happen,
know.
but I'm here to give Chris Sims a chance.
For the majority of the time, there's a little bit of a hesitation to go away from a quarterback, even with a guy like Jahari Rogers in the secondary who's on the roster, who you know can play quarterback. You look Chris Sims in the eyes and you say, hey, you're our guy. You don't want to go away from that because it's a little bit of a mental psyche overall that could shake a little bit of that locker room up and turn some things over. But talking about turning things over, we've got just an absolutely incredible game going on at Rockwall right now.
Barn burner.
Highland Park, after being down 45-44, goes down, scores. They're up 52-45 with the 2-point conversion.
Unbelievable.
Look at this. Let's go back to the stream. And this is a couple moments ago. Rockwall with, once again, an opportunity to put up numbers. Lock in the shotgun, stepping back, looking deep over the top of the pretty thin Highland Park defense.
Oh, man.
How about that?
Once again, through the air, Braden Locke building his legacy right now. His first start ever against the Scotties, and he goes out there and has a cleaner game than Chandler Morris, who everyone considers to be one of the top quarterbacks in the entire state. And the sophomore steps up in a big game, a big moment, doesn't have a single turnover, and is throwing the ball for almost 500 yards. That is absolutely impressive. He knew it was, the game within the game was the quarterbacks, and it's a little bit of a battle. We know the quarterbacks don't actually play each other.
Yeah.
You're playing the defenses, but you're looking across the field and you're like, dang, Chandler Morris is going to show up and he's going to put up some numbers. If we want to have a chance, I got to step up as a sophomore in my first game and go toe-to-toe with Chandler Morris, the state champion, who's about to go be an Arkansas Razorback. And what does he do? He shows up, and he shows up in a big way.
He's got 4 touchdowns, just as many as Chris Sims threw tonight.
Wow, did Chris Sims throw for almost 600 yards against Chandler Morris, or did he do that against a guy that we don't even know at Jesuit who's starting his first game?
He didn't have to.
No doubt about it. Now, Highland Park is continuing to score here, or not score, but at least run here. This is the kind of play that Chandler Morris wins championships with. Not necessarily anything flashy, but the fact that he can go to the outside edge and then get a first down like that with ease. I mean, he made that look easy against a solid, quick Rockwall defense. That's something that we have seen from other guys, but maybe not with the amount of ease that Chandler Morris does. How about that? Outside. Good move up the.
Oh, my God.
This is just who has the ball last.
Man. No, can we just keep this stream on, please?
The ball last
let's just sit here and watch. Is basically
watch
what's
party.
happening.
How much time is left? We can't tell right here.
9:40.
Oh, God.
And so much.
That's a production error, by the way.
There's going to be 75 points on both sides.
And Rockwall's offense hasn't skipped a beat since
It'd be nice to know how much time was
left.
left in the game here. I know it's the fourth quarter, and thank you, but come on.
9.5 minutes.
Yeah,
9.5 minutes. No thanks to the broadcast.
The question is, Braden Locke is what, 15 years old? And he is playing
it's just incredible.
Out. This kid may play himself in the Texas high school history.
And not only is he going toe-to-toe with Chandler Morris, but he's filling the shoes of Jacob Clark, who is absolutely a stud for them, and he's playing at Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
So big shoes to fill, and you're looking across the field, and you see one of the best quarterbacks in the state. Man, that is a tall task, and he's absolutely showed up.
Well, what were we saying about Chandler Morris this time last year? The same exact thing.
Yeah, about John Stephen.
Filling shoes for John Stephen Jones. There's a lot of similarities between these squads.
The other one was an area round defeat to Allen.
You're not wrong, but
nothing to scoff at.
And Locke's only a sophomore, whereas Morris was a junior.
Yeah, waiting in the wings for his time to shine.
But for a sophomore, this guy has thrown the ball to 8 different receivers.
I don't know if y'all saw my catch earlier, but it was pretty nice. Yeah, he found me. Not a touchdown, but
we missed
another catch. Yeah, it was a shame.
Yeah, I caught mine from Chris Sims.
Oh, did you? That was a duck, wasn't it? Thank God you have good hands.
Perfect.
Oh, man. So
I bet if Jahari Rogers threw it to you, it'd be on a rope.
It was right after he ran for a touchdown. It was crazy.
We're going to continue keeping an eye on this game. It almost is no doubt about
Braden
it.
Locke didn't have a single rushing
Highland Park. Okay.
I don't know why you're dogging the sophomore.
Yeah, why?
Braden Locke's been awesome.
Why are you going
because
after
you
the
dogged Chris
sophomore,
Sims.
man?
I think it's just ridiculous.
Never dogged him.
It's freaking hypocritical is what it is.
Okay, so we'll continue to go back to that game because, like I said, it's almost inevitable that Highland Park is going to find the end zone or at least put up some more points here. But, Heckma, I wanted to ask you a question.
Ask it.
Have you been keeping up with the South Oak Clip score?
I have
Clip
not.
or Cliff?
Cliff, sorry, excuse me. They've come back.
Talk to
Freudian.
They've
slip
come back.
there.
The Skyline Ball Club that was dominating this game earlier dominates no more. 22-21. There's
Comeback
2 minutes
season?
left in the fourth quarter of this ball game.
Thank you, Lord.
There's South Oak Cliff. Welcome back.
Oh my gosh, Heck was.
Thank you, Lord.
He's bewildered right now.
It's like you've got somebody, like a family member playing in this game.
I do. I have a couple family members playing in this game. But here's the thing, man.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
Give me the Southland Cliff quarterback stat line,
You want the-
stat
okay,
line right
let's-
now.
let's-
Because the last I saw it was 3 for 13
Well, I can
for
tell you
like
it's no
7
Chris
yards
Sims.
and
Killing this
4
guy.
interceptions.
If you say Chris Sims one more time, bro, I'm going to put you through this desk.
Just making sure
Seriously.
everybody knows who he is.
Okay, Hudson is 4 for 14, 119 yards and a touchdown.
Well, you got the touchdown.
All right, so he completed one more ball, and it only took
And it
him
was
6
for a
more
touchdown,
attempts,
right?
so that's really good.
There we go.
Yeah.
My goodness.
They've got a quarterback
What
problem.
the heck?
Definitely.
How did they do that? How did they come back like that?
Well, there was a safety in the third quarter. They were able to force a safety where it just says ball carrier stepped out of the end zone in terms of Skyline. So I don't know what that means.
He was
Dan
running for his
Orlovsky.
life.
Yeah, I don't
Was
know
it a
what,
Dan
where that
Orlovsky
came
situation?
From. And then they score 13 points here in the fourth.
Out the back. I forgot where
Still
I was.
looking downfield. What do you mean the whistle's blown? Play's not over?
We might have to take a break.
Yeah.
Our wheels are falling
No,
off.
it's not.
What?
Come on, we can get it back.
Oh, we can get it back, can't we? Oh,
Now, you were on Rodney Hudson. Think about this. 2 interceptions. He gets a touchdown, 119 yards. Come on, man. He's bringing it back together now.
He's not good.
all right.
Chris Sims?
I'm sorry.
Are we talking about Chris Sims now?
No, we're talking. Take a break,
What?
man.
Yeah, let's
I
get
thought
out
we
of
were
here.
gonna
talking
take a
about
break.
Phil.
We're going to take a break on
Who
Whataburger
is the
Friday
Phil?
Night
Phil
Stars.
McCoy.
Phil
Now,
McCoy.
when we come back, there's a crucial 4th and short situation inside the 10-yard line in the Highland Park Rockwall game. 4th and short. We'll give you that live update when we come back here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Hey, I'm Jack. We started SeatGeek because we want fans to have a better, more transparent ticket buying experience. With SeatGeek, you can see the best deals and buy tickets, all with a price match guarantee. The only thing we can't guarantee is that your team will win. So use the code TICKETS20 at checkout for $20 off your first order.
Get excited, Whataburger fans. Our one-of-a-kind mushroom Swiss burger is back.
And now it's an all-time favorite.
If you love mushrooms, you're gonna love this burger.
The double cheese, the mushrooms was absolutely amazing.
It's a really good balance between the mushrooms and the Swiss, and that au jus sauce on top.
The creamy au jus sauce.
It really complements the mushrooms. Everything just works perfectly together.
It's just perfect. Every bite's perfect.
It's not just a mushroom Swiss burger, it's a Whataburger mushroom Swiss burger.
It's in all of us, and we won't hold it back. Not one little bit. Nope, we embrace it, letting it fuel our passions, pushing us deeper than we thought possible and keeping us curious. It's what sets us apart from the herd. It's how we come up with the ideas that make people say, why didn't I think of that? See, when you nurture the creativity and passion that's in all of us, you'll learn nothing is out of reach.
I want it.
I can't believe it. That car brought his karaoke machine.
Nothing but a heartache.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Tell me why. you say.
Go, Kevin. Go, Kevin.
No.
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Back here from the Star in Frisco, we're wrapping up the back half of hour number 4 of Whataburger Friday Night Stars, the first week of Texas high school football. Okay, I teased it going into the break. We have a 4th and short situation. Highland Park Rockwall. Tough play for Highland Park overall as they're inside the 10-yard line. Right up the middle, stuffed. Rockwall makes the stop inside the 10, and they get the ball back tied up at 52 in the fourth quarter. Still lots of that game to be played, but that's a huge turn of events, seeing that neither offense was stopped really throughout the entirety of this second half overall.
I do wonder if the blocked field goal earlier that Highland Park had, that they were on the wrong end of, I wonder if that played into the decision of, hey, let's just try to go for it here. You know, because, I mean, in some cases you want to take the 3. Obviously, you trust Chandler Morris in your offense. They put up 52 points. They're playing pretty unbelievable. But this late in the game, you might want to take those points. But when you know you've had a field goal blocked earlier in that game, and it was a very clean block, it wasn't just a random mistake here. They came blitzing off that edge, and it was a clean block. So I wonder if that played a factor in them not kicking it there.
I just don't see Coach Allen, especially in the game of almost 1,300 yards of offense, saying that, hey, I'm gonna go for 3 because nobody's stopping nobody. You got the best quarterback in the state. You got to go for it when you get down there.
That's fair.
And the thing about it is, this is a big part of the game where if Rockwall drives and scores, that's got to be demoralizing because that's going to be a 90-yard drive right there. But again, hey, I know it's just look. You cannot leave Highland Park any time on the clock because they will beat you.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that Highland Park scores with any time on the clock. We saw that during the John Tyler game. I mean, we saw that in the Manville game a couple years ago. I mean, I know that's a completely different unit, but at the same time, it does reign true. Now, I do have an update as well in a highlight from Aledo, Denton Geyer. Denton Geyer leading 60-49 in that ball game as we go to the fan tag cam. How about this? Aledo driving inside the 40, going with a little bit of that cross route action. How about this cut right there? Inside, going to the house. Aledo back within a score in that ball game.
Is dirty.
He is dirty. You see that?
Getting done through the air.
And he's so patient of a runner. And that's why I was and just saying that, not a lot has been made because he's been so good for so long.
It's just expected.
No, man, you can't. I mean, you got to celebrate this kid while in his senior year because he is really special.
Yeah. I mean, he's been statistically one of the best players, running backs, Texas high school football seen in a long time.
Can I bring up a score update?
Absolutely.
So this was one of our pick'em games. It's Sachse-Coppell.
Okay.
Second year in a row, we had a comeback classic between those two. So last year, we talked about it. Coppell got the win. Caden Davis had, what was it, a 57-yarder?
57 yards.
Yeah. I think we said he kicked it from the parking lot.
The golden leg of Caden Davis.
Actually, I believe it was 570 yards.
So,
yep.
Coppell led 16-0 over Sachse in this one in the first quarter. 13-point rally in the second quarter, so it's 16-13 and a half. Sean Coleman for Sachse ran for a career-high 132 yards, had 2 touchdowns. He had his second touchdown came with 12 yards out with 1:48 to go. Next kickoff, Coppell, who's now down in this game, takes it all the way back 95 yards for a touchdown. So now they've got to go for the onside kick. It's 33-30. They need the onside kick to win it. Sachse recovers the onside kick, and they hold on to win this one by a final of 33-30, coming back from 16 points down in the first quarter.
Wow.
Jeez.
Another comeback
Another
classic.
great game between those two.
That needs to be, a game that we see on a multiple year basis.
Yeah.
Like a Highland Park Rockwall. I want to see Sachse-Coppell for the next couple of years.
For the rest of my life.
And for Kevin Schumann, the transfer, 8 of 17, 83 yards, a touchdown, had 8 carries, 32 yards, another rushing touchdown for him. But this is a kid who once had a chance at Highland Park to be the starter. Obviously, Chandler Morris got that gig. He moves to Jesuit, transfers from Jesuit to Coppell. He's lacked some stability. Maybe, they lacked passing attack at Coppell last year. Maybe Kevin Schumann can help them with that. But big win for Saxe, another team that lost a lot of guys, retooling and reloading. Well, they found themselves a runner in Sean Coleman. He had a great night tonight.
No doubt about it. And by the way, South Oak Cliff Skyline going final. South Oak Cliff does hold on to win it 22-21. That last score update that we saw reigns to be the final as well. South Oak Cliff comes from behind to win that ball game as their quarterback Hudson only 4 for 14 in the ball game, but he goes for 119 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, they got to get that fixed if they plan on going deep. And the thing is, South Oak Cliff is not in that strong of a district, but they got some pretty big matchups here coming up. I think they got a game against Duncanville coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, coming up in the next couple of weeks. A couple other finals that we haven't really mentioned a whole lot today. Melissa, 47-14 winners over Argyle Liberty Christian. It's a Melissa team that was really good last year. Trinity Christian Cedar Hill and Bishop Lynch. This was a top TAPS matchup. 16-13. Trinity Christian Cedar Hill comes out on top in that one as well. Just a couple of the other finals from around the area. Now, going back to the Highland Park and Rockwall game, Highland Park knocking on the door, trying to come back, and they actually got the ball back from Rockwall in this ball game, as actually I think a timeout just got called.
Were just right where they left off.
Yep. They got the ball back.
Rockwall punted.
Yes. And that Highland Park defense able to force a pretty solid stop in a crucial situation. But now back inside the red zone in Highland Park looking to take the lead. There's about 5 minutes left in this ball game at the moment. 2nd and 15 is currently the situation. So already back behind the chains, but Chandler Morris, this is another time where he's got to step up in a late game situation. You can't give him
twice in a row in the red zone and expect to come up stopping them both times if you're a defense. I'm guaranteeing a Chandler Morris touchdown through the air here pretty quick. Or on the ground. Here he goes.
He gets to the outside. Whoop. Oh, my God. Touchdown. What a play, Chandler. Wow.
You think he wants it?
Oh, my God.
Hey, Eric Cunningham, who's the color commentator for the Highland Park broadcasts, last year during the John Tyler comeback, he said, Scotty's find a way.
Look at this, man.
They're
what a
finding
scramble.
a way.
Literally, he's going to the outside, then he cuts it right back in. Good block, 34. Boom, there you go.
34 didn't do anything.
Well, he looked like he was about to do it.
But he did a good job standing in the way. He had a front row seat to Chandler Morris's magic on the field there. Unbelievable run.
That's a gutsy run.
On a reverses field.
There's 5 orange and black jerseys around him.
Brilliant. They got to run that back again.
Hey.
What a play.
And big time credit to the Scots defense, who was put in a tough situation. Offense turns the ball over right there in the red zone. You get it back, and you force a Rockwall offense who's been dominating all game long to punt it, get the ball back into Chandler Morris's hands, and give the offense another shot. So kudos to the Scotties defense, who's had some trouble this evening, but they get a crucial stop when they need it most.
Braden Locke.
The young kid.
Your turn, my friend.
It makes it tough. He's gone toe-to-toe all night long. He's gone score for score. But when the game gets tight down there in the fourth quarter, you know that Chandler Morris has been there, done that. And the jury's still out on a guy like Braden Locke.
And where's Prince Dorba? This is when your elite pass rusher, one in Prince Dorba, 21 sacks last year as a Texas commit. Game on the line. You need a big stop. Prince is a guy who usually turns it on around this time.
My goodness, 717 yards.
And they had 2 turnovers.
Goodness. That's unreal.
That seems to be a theme tonight with a lot of these big-time games. Geyer and Alito putting up crazy numbers.
28 first downs on each side.
Cedar Hill and Allen.
Offense
this is nuts. Union and Lake Ridge.
Yeah, that
crazy.
is nuts. Absolutely nuts overall. But one other game has gone final. Another Friday final coming in. How about this? Denton Geyer finishes it off.
Wow.
60-57, the final score. The Geyer Wildcats take down Alito.
Well, that's an upset. We said before the game, you posed the question, Kyle, is this an upset if Denton Geyer beats Alito at Alito? We all said yes, absolutely. We all took Alito to win. And here is Denton Geyer behind the 3-headed monster of Eli Stowers, Kadrick Cobbs, and Seth Metter. Man, those guys, that's a great triplets bunch right there. And we talked about it. They dominated the line of scrimmage. I know it looks like Alito did a lot on the ground, but it took all the effort in the world for Alito to be able to do that. And that's an Alito team with JoJo Earl and with Chase McClellan. Those guys put up rushing numbers that are through the roof sometimes. And the fact that you held them right at 200 isn't great, but the fact that you had almost 400 yourself, that offensive line and that defense, big time credit to Denton Guyer on the road. That is a tough place to play.
Yeah, look, Guyer's big three just outperformed Alito's, and Alito's put up good numbers. Jake Bishop, 22 of 28, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't have a pick. Chase McClellan had 4 rushing touchdowns to go along with 126 yards. Jake Bishop also had a rushing touchdown, as did JoJo Earl, to go with 117 yards on 11 catches. But you look on the other side, dude. I mean, Alito just could not stop Denton Guyer. Denton Guyer just said, no, like, this is our night. Eli Stowers, 12 of 14, 5 touchdowns. Cobbs, 220 yards, 2 scores on the ground. And then we talked about Metter with 162 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. What an offensive showcase for Denton Guyer tonight. Great job by their offensive line, and that is a big-time statement win. I mean, I think that is the win of the night, no matter what happens with Highland Park.
Now, would we say this is a coming-out party for Eli Stowers?
Yeah.
You know, definitely. I mean, you were all last year you talked about him and the potential that he had. Big kid, 6'4", 200 pounds.
So many ups and downs last year. You'd see flashes, and then you
lacked
get
the consistency.
Yeah.
But he put it all together in this game, man.
It's a scary thought when you look at Guyer. They've got all the pieces, and that defense, I mean, they went against probably the best offense, and Coach Walsh said that leading up that they'll probably play all year in Alito, and they were able to outscore them and go tick for tack. I don't know if Guyer's going to lose a game in the regular season.
That Guyer Southlake game, and Guyer gets him at home this year. Last year it was a crazy game, ended on a trick play, tight ends throwing a touchdown pass.
You circle that, and you circle next week versus Cedar Hill. I think those are the toughest tests in the regular season for Guyer. If they can weather that storm, this could very well be an undefeated regular season campaign for the Guyer Wildcats.
Well, they have a lot of – they can look back at that 2018 schedule and see a bunch of games that they were supposed to win. Obviously, they lost them only by 6 points. I mean, I feel sorry for teams like Byron Nelson because
they're going to get
you shouldn't, because Byron Nelson upset them in the playoffs 2 years ago in the first round.
Well,
so Guyer certainly doesn't feel sorry for
what
him.
I'm saying is they got to see him.
Yeah.
They beat him. Byron Nelson beat him last year, and everybody picked. I know I picked Denton Guyer to beat Byron Nelson, and Byron Nelson pulled off the upset.
Just a highlight of how Eli Stowers was so inconsistent. In that Byron Nelson game last year, he played pretty poor, and then he comes in tonight, week 1, on the road, tough place to play, and looks like a completely different quarterback from this time last year.
Impossible place.
Just
to play.
blown away.
You're right, impossible.
Unbelievable win. I mean, that's an Alito team that does not lose. They had a perfect season last year. I thought they were the best team last year in the state, and I just thought they'd be too much for Guyer, but we were wrong. And tip of the cap to the Guyer Wildcats, man. Unbelievable win for them tonight. They're scary.
And we talked about exactly how much it would take to beat Alito, and we now see how much it actually takes to beat
60
Alito.
points,
It takes 60 points and almost 700 yards of offense. That's exactly how good that Guyer team was tonight. Now, another update from Highland Park and Rockwall. We talked about that HP defense, standing strong in that last series and having to put up numbers. How about this? Lock in the shotgun, looking over to his right, lifting it up, and it's picked up by who else?
You called him.
Prince Dorba.
Say my name, say my name.
Wow. Big-time players make big-time plays, right? And when the game is hanging in the balance, the big moment, I've seen Prince flip that switch, and he did it there.
Isn't that insane?
Now, that's actually pretty good right there, Walchuk.
Yeah, you called that one. That's some
pretty
Nostradamus.
That's pretty good right there, Chuck. I don't know, man.
There you have it. Your two captains, your 2 senior studs, Chandler Morris on the offensive end, getting it done when it matters most, on the ground, using his legs to score the go-ahead touchdown. And then Prince Dorba, the future Longhorn, who seemingly has had a quiet night, like most of the defensive players in this game. But when you need it most, you said it, big players make big time plays.
But at some point, the Rockwall quarterback was going to make a mistake. He's played error-free the whole game, and this is that one moment where you see a sophomore quarterback be a sophomore quarterback.
We're at the Star here in Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Can I make the comparison to 2013 Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning versus the Dallas Cowboys and Tony Romo. Romo outplayed Manning for most of that game. He makes that play at the end. Unfortunately, still had a great night, but Broncos end up getting the win. I know it's NFL compared to high school, but that's kind of
similar
one that,
feel.
It kind of makes me reminisce from that one a little bit.
Are you talking a little more moral victory like you brought up earlier in the show? Is this a Braden Locke moral victory tonight?
I think Braden Locke certainly can take a lot of positives away from this.
Yeah, about 550 of them and 5 touchdowns worth.
I think Rockwell's in good hands with
They
Braden
absolutely
Locke.
I agree.
And
I
mean,
agree.
in Highland Park driving here, I believe they actually just punched it into the end zone. This is a little bit behind, but overall, Highland Park just one of the best teams in the entire state. And you have your sophomore quarterback, and we talked about it all day, goes toe for toe with Chandler Morris. No doubt about it. I mean, of course, moral victories are such a frowned upon, I guess, term in the game of high school football, but there's a lot to grow on if
I don't
you're
know
Rockwall.
why it is. It shouldn't be.
No, it really shouldn't be.
These are kids.
Yeah.
You go 0-10, you had 10 moral victories.
I mean,
What did
Heckma
that
said
get
it
you?
earlier. He's 15. It's a 15-year-old. He can't even drive a car yet.
Could be the best game he ever plays.
Maybe.
No,
Maybe
I
so.
mean, and the thing about it is, if you're going to play lights out, then you do it in a game like this, because the truth about Rockwall and their schedule is going to be really tough from here on out. They don't have a lot of gimmies. So I guess
I'm pretty sure Longview's in that district, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is, if you're going to take a moral victory or take one on the chin, this is I guess the test to take one on. But by no means should they hang their head in this situation, because, again, you have a 15-year-old quarterback that went out tonight and played lights out. And again, Prince Dorba is one of the elite pass rushers in the state. So to see him make an athletic play like that, people don't understand. This kid is, 6'4", and he goes up and he's in the defensive stand. He gets an interception. I mean, that's really a tough thing to do, especially close proximity like that. Hey, you called it, and he did it.
And because of the longevity of this game, we're not going to have an opportunity to talk to Miles Dunklin today. But he's in a conversation with me earlier today when we were just kind of talking through tonight's ball game and talking about high school football. He said that there was a chance that Prince Dorba could be one of the Mount Rushmore guys in a Highland Park program history, which is big time. How about this, though? Rockwall's not done yet. Over the top of everyone, all the way.
Are you serious?
Is that
Oh, yeah.
Smith and Jiva?
Oh, you're serious.
It has
Are
to
you
be.
serious?
It
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be.
This ball
Future
game's not
Buckeye.
over
Are you
yet, boys.
serious?
Yes.
Holy
Are you
smokes.
serious?
Braden
Isn't this
Locke.
incredible?
How about the sophomore? Makes the,
No, we were just writing him off in moral victory, take the loss, and get to the house.
He said, let me go
"No,
get an
sir."
80-yarder.
What
Wow.
a throw. What a clutch throw. He had to have been thinking about the mistake that he just made and cost his
Exactly.
team. But he
and
came
the
right
mental
back down.
toughness. You come back next play.
Hey,
Short-term
And
memory,
throwing
baby.
it up to Jackson Smith isn't a bad option. Let him go make it.
But I'm just
Park
saying.
secondary, they're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they
bad.
got guys running wide open all game
There's no way
long.
they play a receiver the caliber of Jackson
That's
Smith
fair.
the rest of the way.
That's fair.
But I agree with you because they got leaky faucets back there.
Now, that's the moral victory part right there. That is, Jiba doing it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel bad about it. But you're talking about one of the premier guys, and we were talking about Theo Weiss last year. I just want to say it, man. Jiba's going to be that kind of production guy this year.
Unbelievable, man.
Over 1,400 yards in this ball game. 725 to 710. You talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba and 12 receptions for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. Holy cow. I mean, that's unreal. What Rockwall's doing right now, Locke has 516 yards and 5 touchdowns. Chandler Morris, 466 himself, 5 touchdowns in the air, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Wow. Chandler Morris has 9 touchdowns.
Well, that's
right
what
now.
makes him such a threat, man, because he can throw it with the best of them, and then he can beat you. We saw him do it time and time again. It looks like it could be a 10, 15-yard sack, and he turns it into a first down game
this is
because his legs.
1,400 yards in one game. Most high schools won't even have 1,400 yards in the whole season.
Yeah.
So,
It'll take all 10
you
weeks.
You get this in one game tonight.
It's the
That's
cream of the crop,
sick.
man. Cream of the crop.
That is sick. But look, one thing about this game is it's not over.
No,
We don't
by
want it
no
to
means.
end.
No, this is unreal.
I don't want
It's
this to
not
Hey, but
over.
how about Case Savage on the other side for Highland Park? He's got 6 catches, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Ben Smith's got 8 catches under 27 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the receivers are eating tonight for both squads.
So 54 points scored by Chandler Morris in this ball game. I'm going to tell you where that ranks him of Texas high school football history. Right now, that's good enough for the 7th most in a single game in Texas high school football history.
What's the highest?
The highest is 75. Jigs Ray back in 1937. The last time that somebody scored 54 points in a game, Aaron Green did it for San Antonio Madison back in 2008.
Wow.
It's been
I figured
over
Jonathan
10
Gray or
years.
somebody had like a 7-touchdown game or something recently.
Nothing like
but
that.
But even then, that'd be only like 40-something points.
Jordan
54
Whittington in the state
points.
championship game for
Whittington.
Cuero.
There's another Longhorn.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And like you said, this game's not over yet. 66-59. There's still about 3 minutes left in the ball game overall. And Highland Park's going to get the ball back. So now if you're Highland Park, do you take the foot off the gas a little bit?
Absolutely not.
You keep going, right?
Well, if you're
Absolutely not.
Rockwall, don't you just try an onside kick?
They just kicked it off.
Yeah, they
okay,
kicked
so
it
it's
off,
done.
yeah.
But would you? I question that decision personally.
I don't know what their timeout situation is.
Maybe they're not comfortable. We've seen kickers throughout the state of Texas. You're not always. You don't have the best.
You're pretty
kicker.
much giving Chandler Morris a 50-yard field.
Yeah, but the way that he's moving the ball anyway, both squads are. I'd take my chances and just try and retain the possession. But yeah, big series here for the Rockwall defense.
Well, they're going to have to get a stop. They're going to have to get a stop eventually, and they haven't done that. So that's what you say. I question the fact that they kicked the ball. Give Chandler Morris.
Yeah, I just don't want to give him the ball
put it
back.
put it all on the line right now. But again, not knowing how much time is it left in this game.
There is a total of 3 minutes and 48 seconds.
Yes, a lot of time left in this game.
Yeah, especially the way that these two teams are scoring right now. I mean, 21 points in the third for Highland Park, 14 for Rockwall, and then each team is struck for 14 points already. In the fourth.
do something different if I'm Allen. I put the ball, Coach Allen, I put the ball on the ground. And
give it to Hunter Heath?
Yeah, get it to Hunter Heath and try and run some clock.
Well, and the legs of Chandler Morris. I mean, that's where you
But
utilize the heck out
if
of
you
him.
hadn't noticed, man, Chandler looks like he's limping a little bit. So,
really?
You don't want to get that. If the one person you don't want to get hurt is Chandler Morris in this situation. So, I mean, Rockwall has played lights out. And although it's not over, down by 7, down by a touchdown, this could be an instant classic.
It already is an instant classic in my mind. I mean, overall, you look at what Highland Park has been able to do in terms of, really both of them. Over 700 yards for both of these teams right now. It's been absolutely incredible. We're going to come back to this here in just a moment, but we're going to continue going through some of the scores that we've kind of neglected to talk about because of. We'll come back to it. Don't worry. We talked about Cedar Hill falling to Allen 41-28 as the Eagles come out on top. And that one, South Lake Carroll 35-20 winners over South Grand Prairie. Bishop Lynch falls to Trinity Christian Cedar Hill. It's another TC Cedar Hill team that's going to be a force to reckon with, defending state champs. And I believe they have a game coming up with Parrish this next week.
Yeah, that's going to be a game that everybody wants to see because of both of the quarterbacks, Sanders at Cedar Hill and also Preston Stone. Preston Stone finished off last year strong. All right, they had a great playoff performance, but we know how that ended for those guys. But next week is going to be special.
Arlington Lamar in a close win over Trophy Club Byron Nelson. 28-27 was the score in that one. Arlington Seguin falls 32-21 to Garland Lakeview Centennial.
Lakeview.
Hey, how about Lakeview Centennial? Louisville, the Fighting Farmers with a 34-3 win. That was a good Fighting Farmers team last year.
Yeah, they were good last year.
And,
that defense was stellar.
Yeah, absolutely. They were pretty good.
Lamar came back against Byron Nelson there. Jack Dawson back as a senior quarterback there for Lamar. They had a great year last year.
And lots of other 6A scores around the area. Prosper opened up their new stadium today with a 31-7 win.
Yeah, and Rowlett, Chase Tupal, they had to replace him at quarterback. That was a team that they started off 5-0 last year. Prosper, second year now at 6A. They were a stout team. That's a big win for them. How about the Colony, though? We didn't get into sleeper teams. My sleeper team this year is the Colony Cougars. I think they are going to be in for a very, very good season. Miles Price is one of the best athletes in the state. Keith Miller III had that SportsCenter top 10 catch here. They've got their senior quarterback who's back. He's been playing for 3 years for them. I'm blanking on his name right now. But
is that Mikey?
Is it Mikey?
Mikey.
It's
Mikey Harrison
Kenneth
or something?
Harrington. Kenneth Harrington.
Okay, Kenneth Harrington.
6'2", 170, back for his third year starting. They've got some pretty good players on the defensive side of the football. I think the Colony is going to be a pretty standout team this year.
That's definitely a team to look for, but I'm talking about sleeper teams. How about Frisco Independence? Put up 57 points on J.J. Pierce. That was a formidable J.J. Pierce opponent last year.
They upset Cedar Hill in the first round.
Exactly. And Frisco Independence just comes out and just blanks them. You and I got to see Frisco Independence for a game last year here at the Ford Center, and they had some offensive firepower and a lot of young guys on that team. And I think there's a sleeper team as well. Ennis, of course, in the battle against Waxahachie, a rivalry matchup between those two squads, and Ennis comes out with a one-score game. Talk about high-scoring matchups, though. McKinney and McKinney North and another
Marcus
rivalry
Shavers
game.
has that McKinney Lion team on the come up there. That's a big win for McKinney North. I thought McKinney would go in there and get the win.
Not going to try and alarm anybody, but Chandler Morris limping around in this Highland Park game currently. Just took a big hit from behind. He's still in the ball game, and so at the same time, Highland Park's going to be able to run out a little bit of clock here as they keep handing it off into the backfield. But Chandler Morris definitely limping, as you can see it very clearly right there, off into the left, number 4, standing just on that 34-yard line. But ton of time, or not a ton of time, but at the same time, Rockwall starting to come out or fall out of time in trying to slow down that Highland Park club. Let's go to 5A scores around the area as well as we continue to wrap up here in week 1 of Whataburger Friday Night Stars. But a lot of 5A scores around the area of note. Talking about Lake Dallas falling to Denton. Lots of Denton teams kind of on the sleeper side of, and I saw Guy Frazier tweet this out the other day, said that one of the sleeper picks throughout the area, Denton Braswell, they're not up on the scoreboard right there, but that Denton team also with a lot of solid output as well. Keller Central, big win over Birdville. How about that?
That's a surprise.
Birdville was up. Shocker.
Birdville was up in that game as well, so that means Central had a nice little comeback there, and that is certainly a surprise. We know Birdville was one of those surprise teams last year that was fantastic. They're returning a lot of their guys, their quarterback, their running back, a lot of their staple players offensively. So we figured, man, high expectations for Birdville, and they don't beat Central. That's not a great way to start the year.
Hey, guys, before we wrap up our first Friday Night Stars, I got to say something, man.
Okay.
We lost a Texas high school football legend in Cedric Benson, one of the best running backs to ever play in the state of Texas. I just could not leave tonight without saying that our prayers and condolences are with his family. This guy was Texas high school football, one of the greatest running backs to ever play in our state.
Midland Lee?
Midland. This guy was amazing. Simply amazing, and life cut short. Maybe not, maybe didn't get the accolades that he should have as a pro, but as a high school and college athlete, man, this guy was all world. Cedric Benson and the Benson family, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yeah, very well said, and of course, one of the best to ever play the game of Texas high school football.
Absolutely.
He's been talked about for years on end, up there with the Kyler Murrays and the RG3s, Heisman winners and pros alike. Of course, Cedric Benson gone too soon from Texas high school football. Continuing to keep track on this, we're going to stick with you through the end of this Highland Park game overall as Highland Park continues to try and run out the clock. They lead it 66-59 over Rockwall. Highland Park, once again, just trying to find a way to get it done. You mentioned it earlier, Zach. Eric Cunningham says it best, and he's a friend of the show. He'll most likely be on throughout the season talking some Scotty's football, but Highland Park just finds a way in games like this that just seem to not go their way to figure out how to win it.
And it comes down to, certainly they've got a great coaching staff, but Chandler Morris is a special talent. You spread the ball around very well, the plethora of different receivers, and then you got Prince Dorba, who's a stud. And ultimately, he's the one that's made the play. That's the difference maker in this one. And if you're Highland Park, maybe their toughest test of the regular season comes tonight against Rockwall. I know that Galena Park North Shore is really good. I know Aledo is really good, even though both of them fell week 1. But to me, the team that I thought would repeat again, and it's not just a repeat or a three-peat, it would be a four-peat, and that's the Highland Park Scots. I just don't see anybody beating this team.
Well, look at Chandler Morris. They just ran the ball with Chandler again off into the left, and he didn't have any time to pitch it to his tailback.
He's holding his wrist now. That's not good.
He is. I mean, he's taken every hit.
Yeah,
he's taken every hit, and the guy has done everything that you potentially can to win the football game. And this is slowly turning Chandler Morris into one of the legends of Texas high school football. Of course, he backed up a Texas high school football legend in John Stephen Jones, what he was able to do with this Highland Park Ball Club. But Chandler Morris going undefeated last year, something that John Stephen never did, and then also trying to win games like this, just gutting it out as a quarterback. It's the definition. That's what you want as a leader on your ball club. And this is a Rockwall team that has fallen down to their last 60 seconds on the clock. And Brendan Locke has been absolutely incredible. 516 yards and 5 touchdowns. You mentioned Jackson Smith, 12 receptions, 269 yards and 3 TDs. Overall, there's a lot of positives on both sides, but it sure seems like Highland Park may have wrapped this one up.
Tons of talent out there on the field tonight. This is one that we'll remember for years to come. And tonight, all in all, just an awesome slate of action in week one. When you look at Lake Ridge taking down Union, we mentioned Geyer knocking off Aledo. Tonight's game with Highland Park and Rockwall. I mean, this has been, and I know we're leaving some games out, but those are just 3 that come to mind immediately. Tonight, it's been all that lived up to the hype, right? And this is all we could ask for here in week one. We've got 9 more regular season or 10 more regular season weeks to do it.
That's exactly what I was going to say, man. It's the teams you wanted to be dominant, the South Oak Cliffs, and thank God they squeaked out a victory because they were definitely dominant. Duncanville coming out and struggling a little bit versus Lancaster, and still pulling out the victory.
Now, this is a big play. This is 3rd and 15 and a false start, so it makes it 3rd and 20 with 23 seconds left. Now, Rockwall's out of timeout, so a first down seemingly ices it for Highland Park. They're going to have to pass the ball here, correct?
Yeah.
Or do you try and run it out a little bit?
Wait, how much time's left in the game?
23.
And Rockwall's got no timeouts.
Actually, I believe they have 1 timeout left.
Okay, if they have 1 timeout, then that changes things up a little bit. If they had none, then I would just say kneel it and we're out of here. So
I believe they have 1 timeout left.
Yeah, the one thing about Chandler Morris is, and I told you guys coming into the season last year, being skeptical about Highland Park and their team and what they were going to do, he just checked all the boxes for what he is as a leader, a passer, all of that. He can make every throw. And so coming into this season, you knew it was just going to be a continuation of what he did last year. And this is Herculean effort right here.
Here he is again, right back up the middle, just runs it up the gut and loses. Oh, well, that's not his helmet. That's another Rockwall helmet.
He's getting up real slow, boy. That kid's going to need an IV. I don't know if it's his ankle or what it is, but he is definitely hurting.
And I just got a text message. Apparently, he is cramping as well.
Yeah,
that's basically what's going through there. I mean, whenever you run for 1,000,
when it rains,
go
it pours
there. For 9 touchdowns and 600 yards, then you're going to end up cramping a little bit. But this one coming down to the wire, Highland Park looking to hold on, taking their time though.
They got 30 first downs. They need that 31st.
Yeah, that one would ice it.
Now this is 4th down.
I believe this is 4th down,
and they're going for it.
It's tough to tell without audio.
It's 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a big play then.
Well, no, it's 4th and 10. You can see the yard marker right up at the top of the screen. So it's 4th down here.
Yeah, you got to punt it. You got to punt it.
Got to punt it inside your opponent's territory on your side of the 50. You still punt it here?
Yeah. Well, it's 4th and 10.
I'm doing a
You're
little
giving
pooch.
the ball at basically midfield.
I might have Chandler pooch it.
So a little step back quarterback action.
He's done it before. Yeah. I mean, if
you get 10 yards, it's over though.
Yeah, but if you don't now,
they're at the 45 or whatever it is versus
you've seen
maybe
them throw
pin him inside the 10
all game.
That's fair. That's very fair. That's tough. That's a tough decision. The way that this game has gone, you look at it, and on one end,
question Randy Allen.
By no means. But you're going to look at it from a Rockwall perspective, and there's going to be an interesting look at giving the ball back to Rockwall. I mean, that's going to be tough to look at. Now, I believe we're actually a little bit delayed on this. We're going to fast forward And they did punt the ball away.
Jeez,
pinned them
smart.
inside the 20.
That's a smart call.
Thank you. Inside the 20.
This just messed with my whole head. He just fast-forwarded that.
Well, now we're getting back to the live stuff.
Now we're live, right.
That's the biggest thing. Now we're live again.
How many seconds?
There are 10 seconds left.
Jeez Louise.
10 seconds left.
I'm telling you,
Brandon Locke has an opportunity to try and get through
15-year-old man, he doesn't even know he's supposed to be nervous right now.
I guarantee you're probably going to throw it up to Jackson Smith.
Here it is.
What do you got, Braden?
Over the middle. That one's
Little
caught.
hook and
A little hook and ladder.
Uh-oh.
That one pushed out of bounds.
It's over.
I wonder if there's any time left on the clock.
It's tough to tell.
No one's rushing the field.
Yeah, it looks like there might be.
Solid gain, yeah. That ball game's not over just yet, at least from the looks of it there.
Actually worked out for you that he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially tossing the ball backwards like that.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Well, you gotta come. It gave you a couple extra yardage.
Have you ever
there.
seen an end of a football game, Heckma, when you're down and you just kind of got to pitch it lateral?
No, I've seen a hook and ladder before. Okay, literally I have.
Yes. Yeah.
But in that situation where he's going out and he runs, just throws the ball back behind him, throw the ball, kid.
I love how they did play action there.
And that is
he didn't give anybody
going
a
to do it.
And Highland Park did it.
Highland Park.
Wow.
Holds on.
Scotty's find a way.
66-59. Second straight year they've won by 7 over a very stout Rockwall Yellow Jackets team. Highland Park, the 3-time defending state champions, 1-0 on 2019. So
what a game, man.
Man, that's as good as it gets. Texas high school football back and forth, each team with over 700 yards. That's unreal. Absolutely an unreal game. But that is going to do it here for week number 1 of Whataburger Friday Night Stars. One final Friday final. As we look at some of the numbers, that's just unbelievable. Overall, both sides, Rockwall with a lot to hold your head high for heading into week 2. Rockwall is going to take on a Rowlett team on the road who was pretty much subdued by Prosper today, 31-7. Highland Park takes on Mesquite Horn on the road. Heckma, you picking Mesquite Horn in that one?
Nope.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. That's going to do
Chandler
it.
Morris is all right.
Yeah, he had himself quite the day. That is going to do it, though, for Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Week number 1 of the 2019 Texas high school football season. It is in the books. We've got a long way to go as we look at some of the best highlights from tonight's action. Man, it's been fun. We're back, baby.
Yes, we are.
Oh, we are back.
Back and better than
you know
ever.
what? You guys just want to stay here all week?
Yeah, we'll
do the
camp
cowboy
out.
shows.
We can do that, too.
And then we'll, set it up, Chris Beam. We love you.
Yeah, Chris has got it all hooked up back in the studio.
We'll see you next Friday.
Whataburger Friday Night Stars, some great games throughout the day. Allen comes up on top of Cedar Hill. Denton Geyer takes down Aledo in a big-time win for the Wildcats, 60-57. Arlington beats Jesuit 38-28. Mansfield Lake Ridge, representing the state of Texas, taking down Tulsa Union out of Oklahoma, 47-44. Duncanville 24-3 over Lancaster. South Oak Cliff comes back. That's my hood. They take it 22-21 over Skyline.
Frisco Memorial with a big-time upset over Salina tonight, a game we didn't get to, but that is a huge win for Frisco Memorial against a big-time Salina program.
That is awesome. Just their second year as a program, Frisco Memorial putting down a big-time win over the Salina Bobcats. But that is going to do it. Thanks for joining us, whether you've joined us on YouTube, Facebook, and or Twitter. It's been a fun week for Heckma Harrison, for Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo at the desk. For the crew back in the studio, Matt Kent, Chance Williams, and Chris Beam, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Until next week, so long, everybody.